I think it's that one. Shites. This guy here. Alright, how the fuck? I can't do that until I get. I guess I can just do it. I mean, it's gonna work. Is that gonna even. Put it next to. I should put it next to the speaker. That'll work. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Shall we
I'm
start?
setting up my phone because I'm trying to do TikTok and shit. But I don't know how I'm going to do
No worries.
audio. Put it right next to my mic. That's going to be the strategy. Directly next to my mic. Go live. Getting a thing from Best Buy that's supposed to allow me to pick up audio from my. It's here. So bright. This thing. There it is. There you go. Now. Must be over. Yes, of course I'm over. All right. That should hopefully do it. Hopefully do it. All right. Can you speak again?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Good. That seems to be working.
Awesome.
There are people in chat. They're saying they can hear things. I hope. You too. All right. Looks like we are live. Mango, thanks for coming on. Thank you for paying to have a debate or whatever. What would you like to talk about?
Let's talk about a few topics. By the way, I've only got 45 minutes.
That's fine.
So
okay.
Hopefully you put a timer on, just to remind me.
You paid for an hour, so if you want shorter, that's fine.
Yeah, just for 45 minutes. So let's discuss your objective reality stance.
So you say reality or morality?
Morality.
Okay.
So I've heard a bit about your arguments. I think it's an example.
What's an example?
It's demonstrably similar to how the female archetype thinks and views the world.
That seems dumb. What do you mean?
Not necessarily. If you've ever been around women.
Nope, never once in my life have I ever been around women, no.
You've never been around women?
Not once, never. I was born from a man, or a test tube. I'm a test tube baby.
Right, that makes a lot of sense, but if you've been around women for long enough, you sort of realize how they think and view the world.
Yes, because they're all the same.
Yeah, they are the same.
It's pro logic right there.
They are emotional. And they rely heavily on their thinking. And so the
they rely heavily on their thinking. Okay, good start.
And the arguments that you've put forward demonstrably similar to how females operate at a micro level.
Can we get like a specific example or something? Like I'm not following.
Yeah, sure. So Um, the female mind works
No,
this
no. I mean,
way.
like, give an example of one of my arguments, and then tell me what the archetype is.
You mentioned gate being opened or left open. Let's say your neighbor's gate was left open,
Yeah,
and
guys.
you
I think.
immediately went into your mind. You immediately went to your mind as the first point of contact. Like you put your mind on a pedestal, you sort of worshiping your mind to give you the answers. And so you went straight to the mind and you said, okay, from uh, a collective, is this the right thing to do? Should I close the gate? And that's exactly how women think. They go straight to their minds because their minds, they put it on a pedestal and they go straight to their mind for answers. And their mind tells them, do this or do that or think
Is
this way
this
or
is this Philip?
have
Is
this
this Philip
judgment.
Shapes and Colors guy?
No.
So you're saying
And
there's
so
there's
your
the
argument is
similar. One sec.
literally
One
that.
sec.
It's literally what you've done is you've described the female mind. That's all you've done.
I've described things with my mind. So that's what science does. It's what philosophy does. It's what politics. I don't know what doesn't do that. I don't think it's possible to do things without your mind. It would be pretty tough for you to
There are
exist
two
without your
types.
mind.
There are two types. There are two types.
Two types
So
of
you have
what?
the intellectual, two types of mind. You have the intellectual, right? And then you have the decision maker. Those are the two. Those are the two types of minds.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
So you have
and
the
you
intellectual
go to the
mind.
decision
Wait.
maker.
Go back. So because you had two types of minds: the intellectual and the decision maker, and you're saying these are different things.
Yes,
So how
they're
does the
separate.
decision
They're
maker
separate.
do anything?
They're faculties that exist within your mind that you sort of, well, if you're not aligned with God, you go to them depending on the situation. So if you're solving a math problem, you go to your intellect, right?
Yes.
But if you're sort of like trying to determine whether or not you should close your neighbor's gate, you go to your decision making. And that's wrong. We shouldn't be going to the decision making because it's a lie. Everything that comes out of that is a lie.
How
And
can
that's
it be?
exactly
How
how
can
women operate.
wait? How can a
Um,
decision be a lie? I don't understand. Like I want ice cream. I decide to go get ice
because
cream.
we
How is
can't
that a
make
lie?
decisions.
What?
Because we can't make decisions.
Because we can't make decisions. Okay. I mean, I'm a determinist, so I technically agree with you, but it's not a lie. Like, how is it lying for me to go get ice cream?
Actually, you can only be a determinist if you align yourself with God. Whereas you are a free thinker. You are a free thinker, so therefore
Oh
you
God.
believe in free will. That's just how it is. If you're a free thinker and you're extremely logical and you rely heavily on your decision making and your intellect, then you're someone who believes in free will. Whether you like it or not, you can call yourself a determinist, but you're not because you're not even in alignment with God.
How
You don't
how
have
can I
faith.
be a
So what are you
determinist?
talking about?
How can I be a determinist and believe in free will? Explain that one to me.
You're not a determinist. You proclaim to be, but really you're a free thinker. You believe in
I'm a
free
free
will.
thinker. Oh God. Okay. So if you don't believe in a God, you automatically believe in free will. Is that's your argument?
Yes,
Thanks for the super chat,
because you
Jacob.
sort of,
And
and the reason why I say that is because you've disconnected yourself from faith. You've disconnected yourself from God, and therefore you are sort of putting the world's burdens on your shoulder. You rely yourself for everything, right? From decision making, you sort of it's a kind of self worship. Um, and if you want to get into that a little bit more, it's sort of like worshiping your mind, and that's how women operate. And
well, I don't want to
as
get into
men,
women yet, but
as
I want
men,
I want to I want to
as
understand.
men,
Wait,
it's
wait,
our responsibility.
I don't care about the women. I
Um,
want to know about how I can be like all the. You have to believe in God to be a determinist. Like as far as I know, there's only like one sect of religion that believes is a determinist and believes in God. That's called like one branch of Calvinism. And then you said if you don't believe in God, you believe in free will, even though most people who are naturalists believe that there is no such thing as free will or that it's just a part of the brain, like neurology. So reality seems to disagree with you there.
no, I don't think so.
About what?
I honestly don't think so.
Don't think
Um,
so about what?
I think if you want to truly be a determinist, you have to align yourself with God and let God do His work through you. But if you're someone who decides to disconnect yourself from God, then you've you've officially labeled yourself as a free thinker and someone who advocates free will, even if you disagree with free will.
So free thinkers have nothing to do with free will. Those are two separate topics.
So going back to your objective morality arguments, you
Sure.
basically just described the female mind. That's all you've done. That's literally all you've done is you said rely on your decision making. That's your guard. Use it at your disposal for every single situation. And that to me is just like, what? You've just described how females operate.
All right. So your argument is that
And
I use
as men,
rationality and think about stuff, and this is like women. So women are like rational and
yes,
think about stuff. Okay. I
but
think that's a compliment.
rationality is of the is of the devil. It's of the devil. Now,
Rationality is
I
of the
don't believe
devil.
logic is not of the devil. That's of the intellect.
Well,
But
how did you come to know that? So
rationality,
how did you come
rationality
to
is
the
of the devil
conclusion that
because you
rationality is
can't
of the
make a
devil?
decision. How
Wait,
many
wait, wait,
times have you ever
wait, bruh,
done
bruh,
something where
bruh,
you've made a
bruh,
decision and things have just gone haywire?
bruh. How did you come to the conclusion that rationality is of the devil without using rationality?
God, God
So
revealed it to me. He said He showed me through examples like yourself, examples of other people, the way they think and their worldview. I mean,
so you said
the
God
evidence
God
has sort
gave
of
you this
piled
knowledge.
itself up.
Wait,
Yeah,
you said God gave you this knowledge without rationality. So He gave you this knowledge, and you don't have any rationality behind it.
no, there's nothing to think about. It's just God revealing
Wait, so aren't you supposed to say
His
yes there? So I
divine.
asked, is there no rationality? Because God gave you this knowledge, so there's no rationality. God gave you this knowledge with no rationality, so you're supposed to say yes. There's no rationality. Is that correct?
Well, you've got to be able to define what rationality is.
You said rationality is of the devil, so you have to define what rationality is, because you're telling me it's from the devil.
I'm not in front of the computer. You are, because can you search
What?
for what rationality is?
Well, you told me rationality is of the devil, so you have to whatever you think rationality is what we're talking about here. Not what I think it is. It's what you think it is, because you think this rationality thing is of the devil, and so I need to know what you think the devil is giving us here.
Well, when I speak of rationality, I'm sort of referring to us making decisions. And I know rationality is
Wait, you said those
in
are two different
accordance with.
things. You said decision making and intellect are different things.
Sorry, I think I might have gotten I think I might have gotten rationality a little bit wrong there. But what I meant to say was because rationality, when people think of rationality, they immediately think of picking the best option, right? That's what the general populace thinks when they hear the term rationality. But unless, of course, you've studied it, then you realize that it's in accordance with reason and logic, which obviously, like, they stem from the intellect. But then there's also another faculty within the mind, and that's the decision making. And that's the faculty that we go to when we think we've come up with a logical conclusion to sort of for us to decide on which which thing we should do or what we should do or how we should do it. And that isn't up to us to decide.
Okay. So what decides it?
God decides.
So he decides it for us. He like makes our decisions for us in our brain, and we don't do anything.
Yeah.
And which God is it?
It'll be
Christian
very
God?
clear. Like it'll be crystal clear what we should do and shouldn't do. It doesn't require
Wait,
you to
it's clear.
sit
What do
there
you
and
mean? What do you mean it should be
ponder.
clear? Like if it's clear, that means we have to make a decision. So like we'd have to understand it. If it's not our decision, then it would have to be made
No.
for us, and it doesn't matter if it's clear or not because the decisions are made for us, right? So it doesn't matter if they're
So
clear.
the thing that no, it doesn't matter because what you're saying there is you're saying understanding, all those things that stem from intellect. There's nothing wrong with utilizing intellect to understand things and figure things out. But it's that final thing, right? Because every single thing that you understand or figure out, there's this moment at the end of it where you sort of decide to accept it or reject it, right?
I thought you said we didn't have decisions. I thought that was a lie.
That's what I'm trying to like get at, right? So like, let's say for instance you studied, I don't know, dinosaurs. At the very end of you studying dinosaurs, there's a decision, right? You either accept the study or you reject it. Do you agree with that?
I mean, you can withhold judgment, but typically people accept it, or young creationists
Sure,
reject
you
it.
could withhold judgment, even though we're not meant to judge. Um, so you basically like you're given two options, right? You either accept or you reject it, right?
Or withhold, but yeah. So I get your point. We can. I cannot burp on demand. I have Coke though. So
I don't
yes.
believe you can
Let's
withhold.
just
I don't
grant
think you
that.
can. I don't think you can withhold because if you study something carefully, there are going to be points in the study that sort of resonate with you, and you immediately like implicitly accept it, even if you accept or reject it implicitly at that moment.
Well, you could
So,
be like there could be like
anyways,
50% accept and 50% reject, and you just don't know.
yeah, that's a biggest that no that's no that's not that's never happened. Um,
It happens all the time. It's just saying I don't know. Like people say I don't know when it comes to things all the time.
um, I don't know is actually the best answer you could ever give in life, but
Oh, okay. People do that all the time.
so that very last moment where you sort of decide on whether or not you sort of want to proceed with something or not, that's the point where you should drop things, stop, be in the presence of God, and let Him decide for you. Because we can't make decisions. You've never made a decision in your life, mate. Trust me. You
Okay.
think you have. You think you believe you have, but you've never
Definitely.
done. And so going back to your arguments, you know, you've just described the film of mind. Going back to your decision making, worshiping your decision making. You know, disregard God, disregard faith, uh, and you're gonna live a miserable life because you're so reliant on your decision making, and we all know that we don't make good decisions. And then you sort of you become scatterbrained. You uh, look at other people who don't adopt your way of thinking and your beliefs as insignificant or as people who are looked down upon. You call other people simpleton because they don't put faith in their decision making. I'm not going to put faith in my decision making because it's a lie. And I've
Um,
tested this time and time again. I used to be
okay.
just like you. I used to
Okay.
worship my decision making, and I realized I'm always in the deep end. I'm always in trouble. I'm always cussing. I'm always angry.
Cussing is
And then,
like bad.
just like, I've started to realize, I'm just going to stop the decision making, and things have gone so much better. Things have sort of things have been put into place that just makes things so much smoother and easier to deal with. And
Could you say that
I
again?
think,
So you're saying that when you're decision making, when you stop decision making, things got better.
yeah, yeah.
Could you explain that more? Like I would like to know more about this not decision making that makes it better.
And I know some of you out there will say, well, if you don't make any decisions, of course your life's going to be better. But that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say,
I think if you don't make any decisions, most people would say that'll make it worse, not better.
right? That's actually a proven fallacy. Um,
Which
if
fallacy
you,
is that?
it's the mango tea fallacy, and I'll explain why.
The mango
Um,
tea. You have a fallacy named after you. That's interesting.
um, yeah, funny
Def-
joke.
Definitely
Uh,
not. You.
you know, because look, all you need to do is, if you've ever recorded all the decisions you've made, and you sort of determine the average, you realize that more than 50% of your decisions have been were wrong.
50% of your
If
decisions
that's
go
not
wrong.
proof, if that's not proof that you can't make decisions,
Wait,
I don't know what it is.
50% of your decisions go wrong. Like, how? Can you give me an example? Like, if I pick my nose, is something going to go wrong? Because most of my decisions are pretty basic. Like, I'd like some water
Yeah,
now.
it is.
When you pick your
It
nose,
is
something.
going wrong.
Oh, please
And like,
explain to me
when
what is the
people think of
catastrophe of nose
decision
picking?
making, when people think of decision making, they immediately think of the immediate response or the immediate consequence as a result of that decision making. No, consequences and come, they can come in, they can come years later. They can, appear, decades later. They don't have to appear instantaneously after you've made a decision.
Okay.
Like you picking a nose, right? You might think, well, that's a reasonable decision, right? Because you've
Yes.
decided upon that, right? You've sort of used your decision making as your guard, and the decision making, which is really the devil, said, yeah, go ahead, mate, do it. And then you keep doing it. It turns into a habit. And then you're 30, I don't know, 40, you may be married, and your wife goes, that's a disgusting habit. Don't do that. And so you have to understand that just because
Wait.
something appears,
Wait. So you're saying that picking your nose is a bad habit because in 40 years your wife will think it's a disgusting habit, and then what? Like you could just stop in like 40 years. So it'll be very, very good for you and comfortable for like 40 years, and then you might have a problem for like 10 minutes, and then you can stop, and it's like, okay, it sounds terrible, absolutely terrible. Picking your nose is the worst thing ever.
No. Well, I'm just like trying to relate to what you just said. Right? Um, and picking your nose can obviously lead to other things, right? You sort of develop this bad habit, and you sort of justified it using your decision making. That this habit is fine to have. I can live with this habit, but then like let's say you're in a relationship and the person says that's a disgusting thing. That's just an example. Even though it may sound ridiculous to you, it's just an example of some of of how consequences can consequences doesn't have to happen instantaneously. It can happen.
Well, it seems like a pretty bad example because most women I know also pick their
it's a
nose.
pretty bad example, but like sure, but you know who knows? You doing that action over and over again might lead to some sort of medical issue down the line.
Actually, it's the
Or
opposite. It's like picking your nose is actually healthy and it helps you. You're supposed to do it. Evolution designed you to do it so that because if it gets rid of the bacteria and stuff in your nose and clears your airway, so it's actually good to pick your nose. That's why snot was invented by evolution.
right, and nobody here is arguing that picking your nose is bad. I do it involuntarily. So to me, that means that this is
You
something that has been defined by
involuntarily
God.
pick your nose?
Yeah, because I do it automatically, and it's sort of like this thing. You know,
No,
it's
I'm
second
not gonna
nature.
pick it. Don't do it. Can't stop it. Ah.
So therefore, it's something that's been accepted by God. I didn't have to make any decisions to do that. I just do it.
God's like,
And so
picking your nose. I accept this. We're gonna let the picking of the nose thingy. Yes, nose picking.
yes, because I didn't require the decision making faculty, which is really the devil in your head.
Really, the devil.
But anyways, that's a really poor example. So again, like you haven't really sort of refuted my argument regarding your argument.
What your
Literally
argument
just that you've just described the female mind. That's all you've done.
Because nose picking and thinking. Thinking is the female mind. Therefore, thinking bad, I guess. And the devil. Thinking is the devil, and thinking is the female mind.
I think no, you are misleading what I've said. I said there are two faculties. You have the intellect and you have the decision making. Okay, thinking. When you use the thinking,
Which one is the rationality?
Everybody's going to assume the intellect, right?
Yes.
Oh, he thinks thinking is bad. Therefore, he's dumb. No,
Yes.
we're not talking about the intellect.
Yes.
We're talking about decision making. That's what we're talking about.
Wait. So which is bad, the intellect or the decision making?
The decision making.
And which part of my morality has anything to do with decision making?
Your morality is based on the human mind, right? And if you know how the human mind operates, they go to their decision.
Go back. We gotta go one step at a time here. So you said decision making bad, and my morality is like women, and women are like decision making. So which part of my morality has anything to do with decision making?
The part where you sort of promote others to make decisions
Promote
for
others.
themselves.
Where is that in my morality?
You gave countless examples in the past.
Like what? Give me one.
The neighbor's gate.
The neighbors. So the neighbor's gate example was, what is an example of a justified moral action? A justified moral action is an action that would be moral, but you don't know it's necessarily moral. So it's like, if someone wait, there's no decision. Wait. So we gotta like find the decision making in the arguments. The argument is that if you see someone's gate open and you think it's likely they wanted it closed and you close it, if it is true that they wanted it closed, then it would be a moral action. If they didn't want it closed, it would be an immoral action. So where's the decision making thingy there?
The decision making lies with you sort of deciding on whether or not closing or leaving the gate open is immoral or moral.
Well, you don't decide that, so that's not a decision.
So your way or your view of morality,
that's not a decision. There's no decision there.
Is heavily reliant on decision making.
Wait. There's no decision there, so that's just a fact. So it's like saying the sky is blue or the sun is round, the earth is. It's just a fact. So if it's the case,
decision making. You literally just described it. You said, well, people generally like to have their gates open.
I didn't say that. That was not a part of the argument.
That's decision making, bro.
There was no. I didn't say that. So the argument is. Let me go through it again. I'm going to go through the argument again, and I want you to tell me where the decision making is. So the argument is that a justified moral action is an action which is probably moral but could be immoral. So it's like you think that closing the gate is what your friend wants. It may not be. And so if you do it, it would be a justified moral action if he wants it. Or it would be an immoral action if he didn't want it. So where's the decision making there?
Based on what? What justifies you closing the door?
I cannot hear you over the sound of the weed whacker.
What justifies you to close the gate?
Well, what justifies me to close the gate? Justifies me to close the gate. Well, this isn't about whether or not you're justified to close the gate. Like, that's not a part of the argument.
Where does it come from, though?
Well, so the argument is that if you close the gate, it's a justified moral action. It's not saying you're justified to close the gate.
It's a justified moral action.
Yes.
And who says it's a justified moral action? I know you've said this in the past, and this is what you said. You said it's justified because of a consensus among the people that they prefer to have their gates closed. You said that in the clip, don't?
I never said that. That's not a thing.
You said that.
No. I say like we think the person might want it closed because most people usually want it closed.
Okay, so you said we assume, right?
Yes. We think someone would probably want it closed because most people usually want their door closed. Yes.
Right. And so, because you're assuming, the immediate human reaction is to make a decision, right?
What? Because you're assuming you immediately want to make a decision? No, that doesn't follow.
Yes.
That doesn't make sense.
It does follow.
But you can assume things and not make decisions.
Okay, and we're talking about in this particular instance.
Okay.
So you've made an assumption, and you're trying to decide whether or not you want to go forward with this decision. Yes or no?
Sure.
And so what you've done is you've created a mask called my objective morality.
What?
Can I finish? We've made
Okay,
a
I'm
mask
lost.
called
I'm way
objective
lost here.
reality.
So I'm way
Yep.
lost here. So there's you see a door open and you think that guy probably wants his door closed, and then you decide to go close the door. What does that have to do with my morality?
Because you've literally just said that you needed to make assumptions,
Well,
right?
no, this has nothing to do with my morality. This is just an example of everyday life. So in everyday life, if you see like your neighbor's door open, you normally think he wants it closed. So this wasn't an example of my morality. This is an example of everyday life of things that happen.
No, it's an example of the application of your morality. Let's be honest.
Well, no, it's an example of what my morality would define as a justified moral action. It's not giving prescriptions or anything.
There
Right?
you go.
Right?
We're
My
talking
morality
about
also says
applying your theory,
yes.
and we see the results, which is heavily reliant on decision making.
Well, no. It's just an example of a justified moral action. So, like an example of a moral action would be helping someone to achieve their goals. An example of an immoral action would be killing a baby. Like it's just giving an example of a kind of immoral action or moral action. It's not. There's no decision making. It's just an example of an action of that is justified and moral. Like I can give an example of an immoral action, give an example of a moral action, give an example of a justified immoral action, give an example of a justified moral action. Like none of these are.
All right. Okay, let's get the record straight. What are you trying to say with your theory? Because it's just all over the place. What is your main argument?
Main argument for my morality?
Yep.
So I think morality is a involuntary imposition of will.
Involuntary position of will.
Sure.
That's the biggest bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
You're breaking up. You can't hear every word you're saying. So that's the biggest something in your life?
Yeah, it's the biggest BS I've ever heard.
Biggest BS. Okay.
I see what you're doing there. You sort
of what am I doing there?
You sort of said it's an involuntary experience. You know, that's just what religions have been talking about for the past thousands of years. Like,
what?
And then also, you're sort of using it as a mask so that people continue to go back to their decision making and worship themselves worship their decision making.
How can I use a mask to make someone make decision making? Like, doesn't make any sense. Like, do I have to put on a mask to stop using decision making? What kind of a mask is it? Is it like a red mask, a blue mask, big mask, small mask?
We've just gone through an example of applying one of your so-called theories, and we've come to the conclusion that you need to rely on assumptions and decision making, and you agree with that.
No, remember the assumptions part had nothing to do. That was just an example of a justified moral action.
All right, let's look at an example of an involuntary experience for morality. Go ahead, give me another example.
Of a what? Of an immoral action?
Your argument.
Well, like, did you want an example of an immoral action, an amoral action, a moral action?
Just something that justifies your main argument.
Justifies?
Or like an example of your main.
An example. Okay.
So
those are all different things. Like an example would be drowning babies, like the Christian God did in the Bible, is bad.
Okay.
Okay. Is that what?
And how did you come? Okay. All right. So we'll stick with that.
Okay.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Because when I see drowning babies and I see someone doing it, I get this feeling that they're an evil, immoral person.
Okay, so you said feelings there, right?
Yes. I feel that people who drown babies are bad. Yes.
Where do those feelings come from?
My brain.
Okay. Where do those feelings come from?
My brain?
No, you're not responding correctly.
That's literally what you had.
Where do you give me a biological response?
Yes.
To an experience.
Yes, because that's where they come from.
I want your response. The actual response.
I don't understand the words you are saying. So if you ask where do feelings come from, they come from a specific part of the brain. I don't know what you mean.
Okay. Well, I understand you refuse to answer the question.
I'm trying to answer the question, but I don't know what you're asking because it doesn't make any sense. Like, where do feelings come from? The
It
brain.
doesn't make sense.
I don't understand how I could more accurately answer that.
Okay, so you said based on feelings, you've made a decision to sort of say that this action is immoral. Yes or no?
Sure.
Yes, I did it. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes, I got him. Oh,
Okay. And what does that have to do with whether or not it's true?
you've just proven my point once again.
Well, wait. So I'm not following here. So like, if I make a decision
Oh,
that
amazing.
wait. So if I make a decision that the moon is 255,000 miles away, and I make a decision to believe this, what does that have to do with whether or not it's a fact that is correct or incorrect?
The fact that you had to make a decision, you had to be reliant on your feelings and your emotions. Sounds like a few more minds to me. And then you said,
Wait.
I have to go back to the decision-making faculty to sort of come to a conclusion.
Wait, well, the decision making doesn't make it true. So either the moon is 255,000 miles away or not. My decision making doesn't make it the case. It's just whether or not it is, like, does my decision making allow me to describe reality or not? But reality is there whether or not my decision making decides it.
And I see what you're doing there. You're sort of like trying to use your intellect to justify you using your decision-making faculty. Mate, it's not going to work on me, all right? We're talking about morality.
What?
Morality.
So my question
We're not talking
was,
about intellect. We're not talking about intellect. We're not talking about you can measure something from the moon. Of course, that's a fact. You don't need decision making.
Wait, I don't think you were following. So the argument here is that I make a decision.
Dude,
like I decide.
Asked you, bro. I smashed you.
Wait. I'm trying to re-ask the question here. So if I make a decision like the sky is blue, now that could be true or it could be false, but my decision making doesn't matter. Like it's true or false regardless of what I decide. I could decide the sky is green, but it's not green. So if I decide something is moral, like if I decide drowning babies is immoral, that could be true or false, but it's truth or falsity is independent of my decision. My decision is just, is this may or may not correspond to reality. So my decision doesn't affect whether or not it's true or false. It doesn't cause it to be true or false. My decision making is just what I think.
Nobody said true or false. Nobody said we need to determine whether or not it's true or false.
All well, that's the point.
That's
the whole point.
Back to your decision-making faculty for you to constantly rely on your decision-making and your feelings and your emotions. That's all I needed you to prove, and you've done that. And that's it, mate. I've won.
Okay. So explain to me how you've won, because I'm not following here. So I use my decision making to try to determine if something is true or false, and I'm trying to determine if it's true or false that drowning babies is immoral.
You're not trying to determine true or false. You're not trying to determine whether or not something is true or false when it comes to morality. You're determining whether or not it aligns with your feelings.
Wait. The whole point. Wait. The whole point. Bro. The whole point of objective. Do you know what objective means? The word objective.
Yes, it's without feeling, but you just literally said feeling. So
without. No. Objective means it's true, independent of feelings, right?
Yes, of course.
So I can have a feeling.
It actually means
okay.
Anything without the feelings and thoughts are considered.
Anything without the feelings? I don't know what that means, but okay, well, let's go with that.
Anything without emotion and feelings, like considered within a situation or whatever.
Without we'll go with that. Let's go with that because so if something is true without feelings, like, and if I'm trying to say something is objectively moral, that means it's objectively true without feelings that this is moral, right? That's because that's what objective means, right?
But you literally just said I used my feelings and my emotion to come to a decision-making faculty to come to a conclusion. A drowning baby is bad. So you just you're contradicting yourself.
Wait. So again, remember, we use our decision making to describe things like the sky is blue, and that is true.
We don't use our decision making to describe the sky's blue. We use our objective gnosis to determine that it is blue. We don't decide on it. It's already there.
Wait. Remember your example like a
Based
while
on
ago? You
our
said,
experience.
wait. You remember you said we read a paper on dinosaurs and you either
God,
decide if it's true or false. Remember that?
because you can't see it. It doesn't exist. You don't see a living dinosaur, do you?
Wait.
You're,
So we read a paper and there's evidence in the paper and we either decide to believe it or to not believe it. Right?
no, I said if you study anything really, just anything.
Yes, we study. Like
But you're
the
not studying
sky.
when you look up in the sky. You look say, oh yeah, it's blue. That's it. I don't need to decide whether or not it's blue or not.
That's part of
Unless I
observation.
want to,
Observation is a part of
unless I want to
studying.
observe it and I want to study it. Unless I want to study the sky, then I use my intellect to gather data, gather
Yes.
information,
So we look at the
apply
sky. We're looking at the
logic or
sky.
reasoning. But then when it comes to decision making, whether or not I should go with this,
So
I
we're
should go with this
looking
plan or
we're
plan.
looking at the sky. We have evidence. We observe the color of the sky. We could be wrong. Like we could have
And we're
a
talking
brain.
about morality here.
Wait.
Trying to, like,
Brosky. So we're looking at the sky. We have evidence. We believe that evidence. So we've decided that that evidence is true. So if I look at my feelings, like I look at my feelings that when God drowns babies, God is immoral, and I feel God is immoral, that's a feeling, and I think it's true. I think it describes reality, just like I think when I look at the sky, it describes reality. Both of those are observations. So I'm observing the sky as blue. I'm observing the feelings I get when someone murders a baby. I think both describe reality. Both are describing things which are
No, they
true,
don't.
independent of feelings.
No, they don't. Because
How?
feelings, we don't have feelings.
If we don't have feelings, how can I be using feelings in my argument?
Because the devil is the one that has the feelings, and the one that doubts. The person that doubts, the person that sort of, always puts you down and has feelings and emotion. That's not of you, mate. That's not your nature.
So feelings don't exist, but the devil has the feelings, and he makes us use the feelings that don't exist to make decision making, which doesn't exist because we're determined, because God determines everything, including the devil.
Yes. Well, if you've actually studied theology, you're like, there's two gods, right? You have God of the earth, and then you have God of the universe, and the God of the earth is Satan.
Wait, go back. There's
Most
two
people
gods?
are
There's two gods. What are the two gods?
God of Satan, Satan who's a god of earth, and
Satan's a god?
the god of everything else. Yeah, he's the god of earth.
God of earth.
You
Okay.
never heard of that before?
Nope.
And so yeah, he basically, this is his realm. This is what he rules. So most people are obviously satanic like yourself, who heavily rely on their decision making, heavily rely on their own thoughts and feelings.
God, how
We all know
dare
that
you
powerful
people!
feelings are-
All these silly people
We-
in my chat relying on their thinking and their brain. You got it wrong. You gotta you
No,
gotta stop
again,
it.
you're distorting. No, you're distorting what I'm saying. You're distorting what I'm saying. I'm saying there's nothing wrong with using your intellect. There's nothing wrong with you observing and studying something carefully and considerably. The problem that I have is with the decision making, because what you're doing is you're sort of playing God, right? You're saying, oh yeah, I'm God. I can make decisions. Oh yeah, I can make judgments because I'm God. Oh yeah. And you're sort of feeding your ego every single time you do that. And as your ego gets bigger and bigger, the more Satan has control over you. And the more disconnected you are.
So feelings bad. Don't use your feelings, you silly people in the audience,
No,
because they're from the devil.
I never said don't use your feelings. You can laugh and you can whatever. But what I'm trying to say is you've got to be observant of your feelings, because they're not of you. And we fall short sometimes. And so, yeah.
So we are supposed to use our feelings?
No, don't use them.
So you did say don't use your feelings. I was like, audience, don't use your feelings, and he's like, no, I didn't say that. Don't. I just
No, but I know what you're
misrepresented what I
trying to
said.
say. You're misrepresenting and you're distorting everything I've ever said just right now. You're
How
trying
did-
to say is disregard your feelings. I've never said that. I
I
said
literally,
don't use
I
them.
literally just said. So should we use our feelings? You said no, don't use our feelings.
I
And I'm
know,
like,
I know you're malicious and you're malicious intent. I'm not stupid, mate. Just like how you said don't think. I never said that. I said don't use it in decision making. I never said don't think.
okay, what did you say? Don't do what?
I said don't use your decision making. I never said don't think. I said you can think, you can use your intellect to sort of study and carefully
Don't
analyze
use
things.
your decision
but-
making.
No, decision making, especially when it comes to like your life and sort of like the way, you know, I mean, obviously there is decision making involved in the intellect, but that's a different kind of decision making. It's not something that has, an effect on your life.
There's a different kind of decision making that doesn't have an effect on your life.
Well, the intellect
what is the other kind of
broad
decision making?
spectrum, and it involves with the intellect. So the intellect is obviously a broad spectrum. It has a number of different capabilities, and one of them is its own ability to make decisions within the sphere of intellect, and not outside of it.
What?
And this one came out also.
What, could you explain that in coherent terms, please?
So you have the intellect and you have the decision making.
Yes.
The intellect is a broad spectrum,
But you said there's a different kind of decision making. There's like multiple kinds of decision making or something.
no, I just said that the intellect has its own decision making faculty.
So are there two kinds of decision making, or are they both the same kind of decision making?
So like if you're solving a math problem, it's like a very silent type of decision making.
Silent
really
decision making as opposed to noisy decision making.
Noisy decision making is when you're in your thoughts and you're sort of trying to like mull over things and you're trying to say, oh, should I do this? That's when you're in the trap. That's when you're trapped, basically. You're in the trap, as the gangsters say, and I would suggest you get out of that because it's bullshit. Anyways, it's got a minute left, but yeah.
Okay. What is? How do you silently decision make without thinking about it?
Because when you're in your intellect, let's say you're solving a math problem, you do it anyways. You don't even realize it most of the time. Or you're studying something observantly, or you're looking at something and you're gathering information.
So how is that a decision?
Without you actually even knowing.
So how can you make a decision without knowing? Isn't that the opposite of a decision?
What I'm trying to say is, you're not putting energy to it. Like, you're not sort of worshipping it. You're sort of saying, okay, I've got to be able to make this decision in order for me to progress with this research. Okay, cool. But you're not sort of putting your feelings and your emotions to it. You're not saying, oh my God, the sky's purple. Oh, and you're not orgasming to it. You're sort of just like, you're just saying, okay, these are the facts and this is the decision that I need to make. Whereas the other decision-making faculty, the one in your brain, alongside the intellect, that one is.
Wait, where is the other one located? The other one's not in your brain? Where is this located?
Yeah, it's beside the intellect, and it just puts you in a state where you're just in your head all day and you're like sort of removed from reality for a bit. And I would recommend that people
where is the second decision making located? If the first one's located in the brain, where is the other one located?
It's in the brain as well. So you can just imagine it. You can sort of conceptualize as like two things beside each other, basically. And the decision making is it's the thing that pulls you out of reality for a moment, and you're sort of delving into your mind and your thoughts, and we all know that's bullshit and a lie. And I would recommend anybody to take everything I've said so far with a grain of salt, but like I wouldn't personally be in my head and rely on my decision-making faculty, which you promote with your mask of objective morality BS. What you're really doing is you're promoting people to heavily rely on their decision-making faculty, and I don't agree with that. You literally mentioned all my feelings and my emotion. Oh, I've got to rely on my feelings.
All right. So do you think there isn't an objective morality?
There is, and it comes from God. He's the source.
So we both think there's objective morality.
The way you put a satanic perspective on it, and it's not true. It's a perversion. Like most things that you do, like you've done during this debate, you've perverted it and misinterpreted everything I've said. And, that's exactly what you're sort of promoting. You're promoting this.
How did I misinterpret
thinking.
what you said? Tell us what you actually said.
You promote deviant thinking and you promote this evil shit. It sounds amazing. It sounds great because you're feeding your ego every time you hear something that sounds great. And the more ego you have, the less likely, the further away you are from God.
Okay, so how do we find the truth here?
I'm not a practitioner, so I'm not going to provide you with recommendations or solutions.
So we can't find the truth? What?
There's nothing to find. It's already there. It's already there. It already exists.
It already exists. How do we find it?
It's already there. It's already here.
Yes, I got that.
It's already here. It's already
we
here.
We want to find it somehow. Find the thing.
No, because when you say find, I know it's not coming from the intellect. It's coming from decision making. I want to find. That's not coming from the intellect. It's coming from the decision making because you sort of, you've mixed your feelings and your emotions to it.
Okay, so how do we get to truth without finding it? God damn it! I don't want that. How do I stop?
Right, anyway, so, I've got to go, but this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. And I hope to be back on soon. Sure.
We can talk about how you should not use your thinking more. Less thinking. Everyone needs to use less thinking.
Do I need it? No, I never said that. See, again, you're misinterpreting everything I said. I said don't heavily rely on your decision making. I never said don't think. You can think. You can use your intellect. You can study. And I hate having to repeat myself because you always misinterpret what I've said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Complete misinterpretation.
Nothing wrong with thinking, guys.
Nothing wrong with it. Okay. The moral of the story, the entire point of the debate, past 45 minutes. Nothing wrong with thinking. I love it. Thanks for coming on.
No, I said that you are a Satanist. You don't know it. And, you're pushing this sort of type of thinking where people sort of self-worship and rely heavily on themselves and their decision-making to, you can rely on yourself. Mate, you're nothing. As science says, your little thing on a big ball of mud. And so...
Yes. You have a little thing and it's on a big ball of mud.
So how do you put yourself at this significance? It's kind of strange. You've got to be able to humble yourself.
Well, I use my thinking and my decision making. That's all.
Stop relying on TJump for your answers because he's not your God. And come back to God. Have some faith.
Well, God drowned babies, so I can't come back to God because he's immoral.
No, he didn't drown babies.
He did. He literally did in the Bible.
You are literally using your feelings and your emotions to come to that conclusion.
The Bible says it. The Bible says it.
That's exactly what I'm about. No, because the Old Testament is of the devil.
The Bible is of the devil?
It's not of God. Yes, the Old Testament is of the devil, and you shouldn't really look into it.
The Bible is of the devil. I like this one. I like where this is going.
No, I said the Old Testament. Again, you're misinterpreting everything I said. I said the Old Testament is of the devil. The New Testament is of God. The Old Testament, if you think about it.
So God built his New Testament on the devil's Old Testament?
I can give you an analogy, right? let's say you have a mobile phone and you've got a software installed, right?
Probably porn.
And over time, what happens to that software? It deteriorates, right? You're not able to use certain applications as you did when you first had it. You're not able to do the things that you used to do. But once you get that new OS in there, or that new software update, everything's back to normal. That's just how I look at the Old Testament. The Old Testament at the very start was great, it was pure. But over time, it
was great.
It was corrupted.
The Old Testament was great. I love it.
No, it was corrupted over time, and Satan's influence. Obviously, you can see Satan's influence drowning babies and doing all these atrocities because God would never do that. And then the New Testament came. It's a new update from God, and he says, "Here you guys go, follow that." And you can see in the New Testament, there's no drowning babies, there's no killing, there's no murder.
Well, there was that one part where he said, I did not come to rewrite the Old Testament. I came to hold it up to its standard. Every jot and tittle is still the same.
There you go. You just literally proved my analogy that, Apple doesn't come over to you, doesn't come to your door, knocking on your door saying, "Give me your phone, I'm going to rewrite it." All it does is it gives you an update.
They literally do that. But
wait, what? Well,
yes.
If you're
they send you these update things by email all the time. Like, must update your phone.
It's an analogy. It's not like set in stone. What I'm trying to say is there's a software update.
The meeting's about to end because I think you joined like 3 times, so it's going to end in like a few minutes automatically if you have to go.
Hopefully everybody was able to understand that. But
I hope they do.
Right. Well, thank you so much. Good day.
Good day, sir. Wow. Well, okay. Let's go to the after show in Discord. Discord after show. Discord after show.
You agree with
what is up? Go.
Or not? I have a problem with movement inherently.
Hey, how do I?
Movement isn't a Nazi movement. It's only about anti-vaccination.
I didn't say it was.
Just because someone raises a Nazi flag, there doesn't make it a Nazi.
One sec. Hey, guys, stop.
You don't have to divest yourself from every Looney Tune that walks
Holy
your
fuck!
path.
Stop. How do you shut off the video so you can't see the video of other people?
I'll shut it off.
Yeah. No, nobody said the movement was a Nazi movement. So if that's the argument you're making with me, you're not arguing with me. So do you understand that I'm not saying the movement is a Nazi movement?
What movement isn't a Nazi movement?
The truckers that are protesting currently shut down city of Ottawa in Canada over concerns about vaccines. It was a Nazi movement.
Okay, and why are we debating them? Were they bad or something?
Oh, it was just no. So the initial assertion was that it wasn't even an assertion. It was just somebody indicated that they were proud of this protest that was going on, and I didn't know anything about it at the time. And when I asked a little about it, I got a little bit of information on it, and it was brought up the idea that there were some far-right extreme elements of this that maybe even started this protest. And I looked up a small article in it, and immediately the first thing that comes up in the article is there's pictures of people flying Nazi swastika flags. And there were other videos of some of the people involved in the movement that were talking about the Great White Replacement, right? And so my statement was simply that I have a problem with any movement that doesn't distance itself, disassociate itself from those things, right? So if it is the case that these things are occurring and the people leading this movement are not out there explicitly stating, we don't want these guys here, then I already have a problem with it outright.
No, I don't.
The argument against me.
There have been people from the movement who have been like vocally discrediting the people waving Nazi flags and shit.
Yeah. So I don't see that as like, I don't think there's like a organization that they're run by a group and the group has to put out a memo. Like, obviously, I don't think all of them would support the same thing. So I don't think that's a reasonable request that literally every single group of human beings comes together and says, we don't support Nazis.
Yeah, we'll put a disclaimer before every protest.
Yeah.
Like, I would guess 99.9% of all protests in the world don't support Nazis, but very few of them actually explicitly state that, like, in their protest anywhere.
Sure, but this raises the concern to me, like the was it the Jacksonville protests where
the tiki hut thing?
I'm sorry?
The tiki torch thing?
Yeah, the tiki torch thing, but not just about the tiki torches, like that the entire organization of the event was done by these far right extremists, who I would argue were far right extremists. There was a bit of back and forth about that because apparently one of us in the room thinks that Nazi socialists are socialist and therefore left.
You have these things called live streams, and you can watch what's happening and what they're talking about for real. You watch it, or you watch the media.
We're talking about Jacksonville now, or are we talking about the truckers?
Talking about Charlottesville.
Oh, Charlottesville. Yeah. So the thing with Charlottesville is, I absolutely did watch what was on the ground. No, it wasn't. No. I watched literal hours. I'm telling you what I watched. Are you going to tell me what I watched?
I know what I watched.
I'm not asking you what you watched. You don't know what I watched, and you're making an assertion about what I watched.
You're making an assertion as to the nature of the protest and what it was about.
Yes, I am, because what I watched was literally hours and hours of on-the-ground video. Dead straight through the whole thing. So yeah, what I watched was what was on the ground. I mean, really? Did you see the guys? Did you see the guys carrying all of the Nazi paraphernalia through there? Did you see the guys that were praising the idea of David Duke showing up? Did you see those guys?
Was that the reason that there was people out there protesting?
It was organized by those people. That's exactly my point.
What was that protest about?
About removing Civil War statues.
Yeah, I'm more so interested in the purpose of the protest rather than the people who are leading the protest.
Why would, excuse me, like, you have no problem with the idea that, you know, people with an agenda gin up this, like, racist, like, ideal, right? And they just bring a protest out of nowhere to service their own racist idea.
Well, it sounds like a genetic fallacy. Like, even if Nazis started a protest about, I don't know, anti-capitalism or something like that, it doesn't necessarily mean the whole thing is bad because Nazis started it. So simply the fact that Nazis started it doesn't mean that it's not a valid point that they're making, or that other groups may show up to support the idea that they actually happened to start. Like if they started an anti-capitalism or something, I'm sure some communists would show up. So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because they started it, that the entire protest therefore must necessarily be advocating for white nationalism or something.
No, I'm not saying that the entire protest is advocating for white nationalism.
What was the protest in Charlottesville about?
I can agree that the people that were there were protesting the removal of statues. That's not the problem I'm addressing.
Here we go. Heritage.
Heritage.
That's the same thing.
Whether our history is good or bad, removing these statues is destroying our history. Marxists are removing the statues. We have people who want to keep our history.
Wait, so what was your problem with it? Because you said so that wasn't the problem. What was the problem with it?
No, the problem I had is that we're legitimizing these Nazi movements by not addressing.
They just because they
let him finish. Let him finish. Let him finish.
That's what the protest is about.
Wait, dude, let him finish. So we're legitimizing protests, Nazis because of what?
We're legitimizing what Nazis are doing by not addressing their ideology when this is what, like, where it came from.
Again, that seems to sound like a genetic fallacy. Like if a Nazis make a protest that like I don't know, veganism. Let's say there's like a vegan Nazi group or something, and the vegan Nazi group doesn't like that animal plants are mistreating animals. And the vegans come out to support the same protest. Do they need to literally express, we also don't support Nazism, but yeah, veganism? Like, they shouldn't have to say that. That's not a reasonable requirement.
It's not a reasonable, what do you think the requirement is?
That they support just the main idea of the protest. Like, they don't have to agree with everyone, like, who started it and all of the other ideas.
No, my expectation is for when I talk to somebody that was there and supported this, that they say, yes, I recognize that it was Nazis that started this. No, I disagree with their ideologies. I had some other reason for being there and can spell that out.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
That is not what you encounter.
Wait. If the protest was about something other than Nazism, then they shouldn't have to talk about Nazism at all. It doesn't matter.
No, they were there only because the people that organized this thing were Nazis and were concerned about it for Nazi reasons.
Well, that was the exact opposite of the protest, because there are lots of people who protest the removal of statues all over the country that weren't Nazis. I mean, the fact the Nazis did it too didn't mean that's the only reason people were doing it.
No, they wouldn't have been concerned about it had the concern not been ginned up by the Nazis.
No, the concern was ginned up by the Republicans. This was a Republican thing way before the Nazi thing. It's also a thing in the UK. It's a big thing in conservative groups about the tearing down of statues. It's not just Nazis. The Nazis did not start this. They may have started that one protest, but there were lots of other protests for the exact same reason all over the country by Republicans. That had nothing to do with
I would still require that people look at things that are, look at the movements that are starting. Like, I just want you to recognize who put in the work, who put in the groundwork.
It doesn't make any sense.
Do this thing.
Because, like, literally all of the Black Lives Matter protests, nobody goes there like, I'm going to look into the leadership of who set this up. All of the Vegan Lives Matters, the Wall Street, no one looks at the leadership of who set up the protest. That's not important. Like, no one cares. So if the protest advocates for something that a group supports, then that group is going to be there. And they don't need to agree with everything or need to state that they positively disagree with the other things that the people who set it up disagree with. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. So then who am I supposed to address then? Just the Nazis and just be like,
Nazis are bad.
Specifically, yes. You Nazis, you Nazis, and I'm using Nazis just as a, obviously, just far right, whatever, whichever far right thing is bad.
White nationalists.
Yeah, whichever far right supremacist is bad, whatever. So I go and I look at the activities they have and the plans they have and the agendas they have to service their far right agendas, right?
Sure.
And when they go and they plan, and implement and work in creating some event, they disguise this event to appeal to the rest of the larger right-wing base. I'm supposed to ignore this?
Like an organization can be like a Nazi or a communist organization, and they can set up an event which doesn't have anything to do with their behind ideology. Like if they say we are protesting this.
Oh, they could, but my assertion is that they didn't do that.
They didn't do that.
I think it's clear why they want the statues up. The statues serve a far right agenda.
I don't think that would be.
Here we go.
That seems more like you're trying to read into their psychology. Like that, you can't say because I think they have this ulterior motive, therefore I think anybody who goes to this protest who doesn't agree with this must then justify themselves. That doesn't make sense.
Plus, if they have an ulterior motive, they would have to be doing other stuff other than just preserving statues. Like the preservation of statues doesn't create Nazism. Like they would have to do that along with other things, and then you can support.
Well, I want to focus on his main point here. So his main point is that he thinks that people who go to these protests should have to denounce Nazism or something because Nazis created the protest, and that it's some kind of there's an ulterior motive here to like bring people to Nazism by starting these protests or something.
This is an expectation I have of anyone I talk to. Not that you just tell me outright you denounce Nazism. Like if there's an element, some far fringe element in something you're participating in, but you have some other reason then yes, I expect that you say, no, that person over there is crazy, or that person over there is evil, or that person over there, or whatever, however you want to distinguish yourself from them, and say, yes, but our interests align in this way, and this is why it makes sense from my perspective.
But that's an asinine request. That's literally an asinine request. That's like saying if I'm ever at a coffee shop, I mean, there's a Nazi over in the coffee shop. Like, I disagree with the Nazi, but I like the coffee shop. Like, no, you shouldn't have to say that. That's ridiculous. Like, if there's a protest and it has a specific topic and you're there for the specific topic, you shouldn't have to mention anybody else there.
You took that. Wait, no. You took that to mean that you think that if you and a Nazi like the same coffee, I would ask that you go, like, explain why you like the coffee and not the Nazi.
Yes.
No, I'm asking why you would see eye to eye with something that would support their agenda.
Like if they say we are for food and air and stuff, and I'm like, I'm also for food and air and stuff, that doesn't mean I'm supporting Nazism. So if they have a thing that they like, which also supports a number of other ideologies that have nothing to do with Nazism, the fact that they like it is irrelevant.
So I have to spell out another distinction then, right? So instead of it being their agenda, which is, by the way, different than food, unless you just want to say their agenda is to live.
If there is a thing which supports a huge portion of lots of different agendas, not just Nazism, like pretty much 50% of America who are not Nazis also support this thing of the anti-statue thing. It has nothing to literally do with Nazism. Saying that other 50% of America have to justify themselves because 0.00 something percent are Nazis and also support this makes no sense.
I disagree.
I also don't even think the percentage even matters. Like if there is a non 100% portion of people who are Nazis, and then there's like a non-0% portion of the people who support the movement who aren't Nazis, then they clearly have their own reasons for supporting that cause that aren't Nazi related.
Well, if it's a sufficient enough percent, if it's like 99% Nazis and two other guys or whatever, then it's reasonable to make that assumption. But in this case, it's the opposite. So the percents here do matter. Like, it seems like he's implying that the tearing down of statues agenda is a specifically Nazi agenda or something. And it's not. It's clearly not. Like, this is something that literally every single Republican pundit ever has talked about. Their entire group, their entire base is not, we don't want these statues down. It has nothing to do with Nazism. This is not a Nazi agenda. This is just a Republican agenda.
I mean, just the idea that because Republicans accept the argument on whole, en masse, I guess, that history good, statues equal history. Like, that the thing is
like,
that
in what?
Wait, let him finish his point.
So
let him finish his point.
So the majority of these statues, if you look at history of the statues, were all put up in these spikes in history, right? Like, you can see most of the statues go up at this time, and then some more go up at this time, and they're all put up. I'd say all. I'm overgeneralizing, I suppose, when I say that, but the vast majority of them are put up by, like, Daughters of the Confederacy, right? And they are all put up in basically entirely white places at times in history that were contentious and were essentially, I would argue, put there to say Black people not welcome, right? And if that's the case, just allow me if that's the case for a moment.
Sure.
Okay. If that's the case, if I can make that case, which is a case I might be willing to take on if you give me time to get home and look some shit up. But if that's the case, then I would argue that the statue should have been torn down a long time ago, right? And it wasn't about history. It was more about making a statement to the people that would see it, namely the white people and the Black people.
Well, I see, like, most of those statues are not made of people who are just anti-Black. Most of them were not anti-Black. They were like Confederate generals weren't anti-black. They were just generals who supported their group or whatever. And so many of those people had other accomplishments that had nothing to do with slavery or black people. And that's usually the reason they were put up, not because of the relation to slavery. It's not like an accomplishment that they were against or were for slavery or something. They were usually...
I am not of the opinion that the people depicted themselves were necessarily racist. Well, that is not the assertion. The assertion is when the Daughters of the Confederacy put these things up, they did so for a reason in specific places. Wait, that's the assertion.
The Daughters of the Confederacy and Confederates in general have other things they care about other than slavery. Like they value people for more reasons than they hate black people.
Right.
So there are other reasons they could put up
slavery.
Right. So
because the fact is they went up not after slavery ended. They went up whenever segregation ended, and they went up at other contentious times.
Wait. So there's other reasons to put up statues other than anti-black reasons, right? And most of the reasons that the statues are taken down are usually for reasons like Thomas Jefferson or whatever. He had slaves. That's one of the facts of his life. He also did a lot of other stuff, which is really great. But he did some bad things. And so the point of the anti-tear down statues movement is that the fact that there are some bad points in someone's history shouldn't negate all of the positive things they have done. And the reason those statues are up are usually because of those positive things, which are usually pretty important.
That's the thing I'm disagreeing with. The reason those statues are up because of positive things. I think the evidence for that is scant.
I wouldn't go there,
probably
man.
wrong.
Well, no. Like literally, the motivations that are posted of why these statues go up list a bunch of accomplishments of the person in their life. None of them are because they hated black people.
It has nothing to do with black people. It had to do with states' rights. It had to do with honorable men. Like Robert E. Lee was an honorable man.
Again, I'm not making a point about Robert E. Lee.
Walking down his street, and he wondered why he was being invaded by the northern people.
I am not making a point.
Had to do was ask him.
I think the point
is not making a point about Robert E. Lee.
Wait. So let's just grant your point here and say, let's say that the Daughters of the Confederacy put up a statue of someone they admired because they hated black people or something, and literally no other reason.
Yes.
But a bunch of other people see that statue and see all of the positive things that person has done in their life. Irrelevant to the slavery.
This is a consequentialist idea of statues, I guess. What? Right? I would argue the statue should have been torn.
Wait, let him finish.
In Seattle.
Let him finish.
No one had a big ruha on that.
Wait, what is this consequentialist view of statues?
Well, you're appealing to sort of the consequence of having a statue there and arguing that you're arguing that it could have some positive effect and different meaning to other people. It's like the idea of art means whatever you want to interpret it to mean, right?
Sort of. I'd say like it's a genetic fallacy to say that because of something's origin that it has no valid use and therefore it must be evil, or to say that because it was created by...
I think it had a valid use, and I think it probably worked. But I think it should have been torn down the very next day.
I'm not... So again, it seems like you're saying that because of its origin makes it corrupt and evil, therefore it can have no valid purpose.
No, I'm saying that it harms us to be up today because the thing that it does is validate racist people.
No, you brought the race into it. And then this happens to be
his argument. He's making his argument here. So he's saying
everything is going to be about race.
No. This is his. Wait, stop. This is his position. He's describing what he believes and why he believes it. So this is fine. But it seems like your interpretation of the statue, saying this statue validates some bad people, therefore this statue must be burned. And there's another group of people who think this statue represents a lot of our ideology, which has nothing to do with black people, and you want to destroy something they value because of. Right. You think it's bad.
So my argument is not that the statue should be burned. I don't think I necessarily need to clarify that part. It's a small part, okay? I don't want to tear down history, right? I think that the history should be preserved in a solemn way that does not glorify the parts that the racists want glorified, right? I'm more akin to wanting these things
where in the
like
statue does it glorify
museum.
slavery? Where in the statue does it glorify slavery? Is there like a notary?
So that's just it, right? Is that in the South, it was this sort of implied thing. Nobody's going to go right on there that, black are bad.
Right.
Right.
So
I never
it's
made the argument that that's
you
what they
were
did.
psychologizing this. You were taking it's a symbol, and it's a symbol for one thing for one group.
Oh,
and
I'm psychologizing it and willing to offer evidence for this when I'm not driving through rain.
Well, no, that's fine. Like, it doesn't matter. Even if that's true
Yeah.
for one group, they take this symbol and they interpret it to be pro-slavery or whatever. Like the Confederate flag, they interpret the Confederate flag to be pro-slavery or something, or they interpret I don't know, a picture of Robert E. Lee to be pro-slavery. Like, there are lots of other things that represented. It wasn't just slavery. So the fact that it represented one thing, and because it represented this one thing, you think it must not be acceptable publicly or something because it could promote this one thing.
Okay, no. So I think it more important to acknowledge that the extremism is bad and to not cater to it over the preferences of a pluralist movement of others.
Well, okay, so let's say Nazis like corn, and let's say half of the population also likes corn. Does that mean we should not promote corn in grocery stores because it's promoting the Nazi ideology?
No, because there's nothing about corn that's demonstrably that is reasonably believed to assist Nazis in their enacting their agenda, other than they're just able to live on corn now.
What? Neither do statues.
They do appeal to them. The symbolism
appeal to
is
them means
real.
they have a subjective feeling. They have a subjective feeling they like this.
Right. This isn't like a weird thing. Like, symbols have been banned for lots of reasons, right?
Yes.
So I'm equating these particular statues because of the way that they were resurrected, excuse me. Because of the way when they were put there, why they appear to have been put there, the evidence of why they were put there. And I'm appealing to viewing these things more like Nazi symbols, Nazi flags, and not being on things like government property for those
so again,
reasons.
a Nazi flag represents something very specific to a very specific group of people. Because it's like a random person is going to be like, oh, Nazi flag, I like this. Well, actually, technically, because it's a Hindu symbol, they could actually
just because it's more recognizable.
Well, no. Like, it's not the recognition here. The point is that if this thing has meaning other than that, if its primary meaning is other than that, then you using the small part of its meaning, which can be associated with whatever the Nazis, to justify the removal of all of the positive things it represents to the other groups, is a composition division fallacy. You're saying because it has this one part that's really bad,
sure,
then all of it must be bad, or the whole.
I don't disagree. No. I'm not saying all of it must be bad. That is not what I'm saying.
Well, I'm
saying that
I'm generalizing here to say that we must remove the statue because it has this one bad part. So we're going to remove all of the aspects of the statue because it has this one bad part.
Not must, should. I would argue we should.
Those are synonyms
to attain
here.
a particular goal,
Synonyms.
which is to remove power. I get you. I'm just saying, I'm just clarifying my statement for anyone that may be listening to this, because anytime you're in the room, I'm assuming you're recording.
Yes, correct.
Okay?
Good assumption.
So, okay, good. So again, I'm not saying we must. I'm saying we should, and I think we should because I think I have a particular goal, which is it is more important for me, at least in the case of statues, if not in the case of corn, that we don't cater to them in that way.
Right. And so if there's a large group of people that don't see any kind of Nazi reference to the statue, like corn, they see it exactly like corn. It's just a thing that they care about, and there's no connection to Nazis. And you're wanting to take away.
Argue the point.
Wait. So, and you want to take away their corn because they see it as corn. So they see the statues like corn. It just represents something important to them. It has nothing to do with Nazism. It has nothing to do with slavery. It's just something that represents their ideology. And you're saying, no, there's a part of this that represents Nazism. Therefore, I'm going to take away your corn. You understand why a large portion of people would be very upset with you for that, and justifiably so.
No, I don't. No, so I'm not actually asking him to change his position. My expectation that I set from the very beginning was that if the thing you are doing seemingly supports and aligns with their cause, right? Not just eating corn. You can eat corn.
Well, no, I'm saying that's your interpretation. You interpret it to do that. They don't.
Yeah, that's fine. No, that's fine. They're still there, right? It's not like they don't see the Nazis eating corn, but they're eating corn. The fact that they eat corn doesn't support the Nazis in any way. They're just eating corn, right? But if what you're doing is actively propping up their agenda,
well, no, that's the disagreement.
Yes, I expect it.
The whole point is here is that the vast majority of the Republican Party says they don't do that. The statutes do not do that. That's your position. You believe that. So they say no. This has nothing to do with Nazism.
So a Republican would not recognize that the Nazis want the statues preserved.
No,
nor would
saying
they
don't care about the Nazis. They care about the statue. They say the statue does not represent Nazism.
I know, but my requirement of people is not to assume that the statues are supporting their agenda. My requirement of people is to recognize the elements of whatever group that they're in and say, agree with me, go, yeah, that's bad.
Go, Nazism is bad? Most of them agree. Like Tucker Carlson will say Nazism is bad. Like I don't see that.
They won't. They defend it when you ask them.
There's literally clips of like Tucker. There's literally clips of Tucker Carlson and every one of the big Republicans saying Nazism is bad. That's a thing that exists. Like you ask any Republican, they're going to say Nazism is bad. It's going to be really easy. Well, any of the big ones.
No, but
popular ones.
No, because the ones that were there at the march carrying the tiki torches don't, and the ones that
there are literal Nazis that exist in the Republican Party. But the point here is that they don't need to say Nazis are bad in order to say I don't want the statue taken down. Those are two different statements completely.
No, that isn't right. If I have a conversation with you and you were there, even if you were carrying a tiki torch, right? I still have the expectation for you to say, yeah, the guys carrying the tiki torches sucked, even if I agreed with their end goal that day.
If asked, I guess you could expect that, but they shouldn't have to say that explicitly without being asked.
No, that is it. Because they don't want to recognize that. The thing is that you can say to them, like, yes, there were Nazis there, yes, they organized the event, and they'll immediately pivot and they won't address the fact that they're there.
Yeah, because it's not a point. Wait, because that doesn't matter. It literally isn't the point. The point is that we want to support statues. Why are you bringing up Nazis? It's just it's like, obviously, if you're making a generalization about a group and saying, oh, well, because they're also a part of the group, like, I don't care about them. I'm talking about the statues, not the Nazis. And so you bringing in an irrelevant point to the conversation is just a demonization or a poisoning the well kind of a thing.
No, it isn't. I'm not demonizing the group. I don't care if you yourself want to support the statue. I care that you're willing to just blow by like obvious facts because you think they're irrelevant when they're brought up to you.
Well, no. The point here is that if someone is there to support the statues, they shouldn't have to say, I don't support Nazis. You shouldn't bring up the Nazis. They're not there to support the Nazis.
Depends on the conversation they're in.
What? Like if someone's there to promote some ideology, like not taking down the statues, and you bring up Nazis, which they're not there to talk about, the fact that you're associating them with the Nazi question is intentionally or not poisoning the well. If they're there to talk about the statues and not anything else, you should not. It's unfair of you to expect them to denounce Nazism at the same time because that's not the reason they're there. So
go ahead.
Well, it's because it's exactly the poisoning the well thing. So it's like, if you, I forget what it's called. There's a certain type of thing in psychology where if you anchoring bias or something, if you bring up a really bad negative topic in association with something else, then it colors the topic in general. And so it makes sense that people would be offended to be asked about Nazism when they're trying to support something else they care about. So like, if you go to a protest to like support veganism or something, and someone in the media is there asking about the Holocaust, like it makes sense the vegans would be upset by that because they want to focus on the vegans. Like, this is the issue we want to talk about. Why are you changing the topic to something we're not here to talk about? So it makes sense that someone would not want to answer the Nazi question because it's poisoning the well. It's obviously, whether intended or not, something that is deflecting from the thing they believe and making it coloring that entire group as if they're bad.
So let me ask the question then, because this came up in the context of the protests that I just learned about. I basically know nothing about, right?
Yeah, me too.
Right.
The trucker thing.
So let's talk about the thing we know nothing about real quick.
Yes.
So this came up because this presented basically immediately through two sources, right? To be immediately associated to some element of far-right extremism, right? That's not to say that I don't mean to poison the well here, right? But my statement to that was, I am like, I don't remember exactly what I said at the time, but I am sort of unlikely to want to side with this movement even immediately, right? Just from this alone, from, like, not just because it was reported that way in some source, right? Because I barely know anything about it. But if this is true, if this presents as true, right? I already have an impetus to not side with this.
Right. But that seems
what
to
is
be that seems to be the poisoning the well thing. That's like, so I would assess it. I would say, okay, if they're saying they don't want to take vaccines and they give reasons, I would try to assess the reasons. I don't care if they're Nazis or not. Like, it doesn't matter. What matters is what is the position that they are making? What is their argument? Whether or not they're Nazis makes no difference. So I don't.
In question.
Go ahead.
I mean, I would agree that, on any individual basis, that is in fact the issue, right? Any protest that pops up and says we are protesting something to do with the vaccine, yes, right? I'm still disinclined from engaging with the people that are walking around, with Nazi flags. Even the people that are standing around them and not saying anything. Even the people that are like, this appears to be, maybe you could make some argument that I've got some weird bias here. But yeah, I stay away from the Nazi flags.
Well, it's a pretty normal bias.
Other people do too.
Well, the point here is that it's a pretty normal bias. Like, I'm strange in that I literally don't care about that stuff. So if there's like, if you go to any given protest, there's thousands of flags for all kind of shit, like just everything. The fact that like there's no person in the protest who's probably going to agree with all of the flags at the protest, but they shouldn't have to point out like, oh, I don't agree with that guy. I do agree with that guy. I don't agree with that guy. Like, obviously they're there for probably the reason of the protest. That's the one thing that ties that entire group together. Not the flags that this part of the group is holding. It's the reason of the protest. So I think it's wrong to like generalize that, oh, well, if you're in this protest, you have to denounce that group of people over there in the protest, because that's like literally a ridiculous thing to say about any protest, because most of the people in the protest won't agree with everyone else in the protest.
I mean, so it's that if I'm wondering why it's incorrect in some way. Let's say I'm a reporter and I walk up to some person in the protest, right? And I'm talking to this person about what they're there for, right? I'm assuming if I say to them, have you seen some of the Nazi flags about? This is just a straightforward question. They may say yes. And then I would say, does it concern you that this symbolism is here and now being associated with this protest by virtue of being flown? Now, you would say, as I guess, that they're right in saying, I don't care. That's not what I'm
No,
here
no, I would say they
for,
would be right in saying, why are you changing the topic? The reason we're here is for this, the topic, the reason of the protest. Why are you focusing on their flag and not addressing the actual topic that we're here for? Because it seems like when you're bringing up the Nazi flag as a part of the media, that's a good strategy if you want to deflect from the actual topic, to ignore the things they're actually talking about, and to demonize the group to illegitimize the topic. I'm not saying you're doing this. I'm saying if I was on the left media and I wanted to completely to delegitimize a protest, what I'd do is I'd point to a Nazi flag, focus on the Nazi flag, and then ask everyone about the Nazi flag, and never talk about the actual topic of the reason they're there. And that is obviously something people are legitimately frustrated with media on the opposite political aisle.
So I understand the frustration, because look, I can't say that there isn't a similar thing that happens the other way, right?
Oh yeah,
but
there
I
is,
have like
definitely.
sort of I have my own concerns about that, right? It's why I don't like Jordan Klepper's thing, even if I understand that some people, like, it provides some people this like ability to be like, yeah, that guy's stupid too. Like, I get that, right?
Yeah,
like,
it happens on both sides. I agree. I hate all politics, so I think they're both equally wrong here.
I know the thing that you're talking about, but I sort of distinctly differentiate between there's all these stupid people here. Why are you associated with the stupid people? Right? Because there's just stupid people everywhere, and there's nothing you can do about to get away from them, right? And some of those stupid people are going to agree with you, and I shouldn't have to justify everything they do. I get that, right? But stupid people don't wear Nazi flags or anything akin to it, right? Like,
what?
And it isn't.
I think those are stupid people.
I'm not.
Wait, what? I think those are stupid people. I don't get it. Like, to me, the problem seems to be is that if anybody's at this protest, you seem to be saying that they are obligated or should or must or whatever have to. The first thing that should come out of their mouth if you're talking to them is, "Oh, I don't support Nazis." It's not about the topic. It's not about the reason they're there. It's not about the protest. The first thing they have to say that trumps everything else is you have to denounce that other group in the protest. And that seems to be poisoning the well.
What do you think he's saying?
I thought that's what he said. I think like his original argument is that I expect anyone else there to denounce Nazis. Something.
In conversation, if it's brought up, if the questions are asked, yes, I expect it.
Yeah, and to me that seems to be like poisoning the well. Like, you shouldn't have to address that if you're not there for that reason.
I want to know that you aren't part of a poisoned well. That's why I'm asking the question.
Well, again,
right? Because if you're over there in the well, the answers that show me that you're really concerned about a statue are ones that, recognize the parts that are problematic.
I think I do kind of agree with him on this point, because like if some reporter were to come toward me and like I was in that protest and they asked me about the Nazi flags, like obviously I would be very frustrated that they would ask me about that first and not the actual purpose of why I was there. But I would feel a responsibility to say no, I don't associate with those people, but that's not the reason why I'm here. And I guess that's, but like I don't know if that was
the requirement I would have. That's literally all I'm asking for.
So like if someone asks the question, then they should answer no, I do not support Nazism. But what Tom is kind of saying is like, why are you asking that question in the first place?
Well, Tom's not wrong. Look, Tom is pointing to a real thing that I absolutely understand, right? And yes, he's also not wrong when he says that the liberal media, if they have that agenda, would do that. I'm okay with that. But I'm literally just talking about in conversation with somebody. I'm not trying to tell somebody they are bad or they are wrong. I just want to know that they're honest enough to recognize the shitty parts of the thing they're in. That's it.
Right. And I get that, but I don't think that should be a priority or like the first thing you ask the person in the protest. Instead of the actual purpose of why they're there.
Well, I want to go to a slightly more important here thing. Let's say they are a Nazi. Let's say you're literally talking to a Nazi who agrees with the other Nazis. even asking them that question is still completely irrelevant to the point of the protest. Like, the reason they're there is to talk about the statues, and their reasonings for wanting the statues may have nothing to do with Nazism. So even if they support the Nazis, let's say they say, yes, I support the Nazis to you. Don't take that out of context. Just clip that Twitch thingy. Then immediately you're going to disregard anything they say afterwards. Well, because you're just a crazy Nazi or something like that.
So they could basically cherry pick Nazis from the protest and ask them.
Like, I wouldn't put it that way. I mean, look, whatever position, whatever label you take to, that you take onto yourself to inform me about you is going to inform me in some way. And if you take on the label Nazi, I'm going to have some kind of thoughts about that. I'm going to feel some kind of way.
Right, but that seems to be poisoning the well, right? Like even one sec. So that seems to be poisoning the well, because like if they bring up a valid argument, something like, well, I think that Robert E. Lee's something political change while he was a politician was very good and had nothing to do with slavery, and that's the reason why we should support this thing. You knowing that they're a Nazi, you can say, well, no, that's not the real reason. I think you do it because you support slavery, and so you're going to disregard their entire argument, or you can use that as a way to disregard their entire argument and poison the well.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to argue that point, because that is not, it's genuinely not what I would do. I try. Maybe I've done it before, and maybe I will in the future, but I try to argue with the words that are said rather than like, just because you identify as a thing, whether or not I think about that in a negative or positive light, I will still afford you the courtesy of dealing with the words you say, hopefully.
Right. I know you. I know that most of the guys on the server are pretty rational, but if you asked any person who didn't know you this question, that's probably going to be the first thing they think. Like, they know that most people are going to judge them if they say yes, and so this is like a "did you beat your wife" kind of a question. Either you've got to come up with some kind of way to evade this, because you're going to get judged either way. Either you're going to be labeled in this group unintentionally because you say, no, I'm not a part of this group, which has nothing, but you're associated with them because you agree with them on this topic, or you have to just bite the bullet and say you're a part of this group, and then people won't take anything you say seriously. And so this is a "did you beat your wife" kind of a question, where you're either poisoning the well by saying you're associated with this group, whether you intend it or not, or you're literally in the group, which makes you even worse. And so it's a question that's unfair to ask or to expect of anyone in that situation, because either answer is still going to have a negative impact on most general people, not you specifically, in that context.
Sure. Probably, but this rings to my ears like the argument that the people asking the questions are probably a little dumber than you, right? Or a little more, have a little more malice than you, or something.
Well, in general, that's usually the case. Sure. Usually, the people asking those kind of questions.
I didn't say it. I didn't say you were wrong. I was just saying that's what it sounded like. Yeah. Look. I don't know. Like, I can only ask questions with the intent I actually have, and have some expectations for what kind of answers I will accept. And maybe I should consider the idea that my questions could be perceived in a bad light for good reasons. Right? Is that sort of where we're going with this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sure. But I don't disagree with any of those points.
But yes, I am streaming. You were correct about that. That is the correct assumption.
All right. Tell you what. I've got someone I need to call, so I'm gonna bow out for a minute. I'll probably join in just a minute more. Okay.
Cool. Talk to you later.
All right.
Is anybody in the chat on TikTok, and can you go to my TikTok and see if my TikTok live stream is working and tell me how the sound is? Because I'm trying to do TikTok live streams enough for TikTok to give me the stream key so I can do it on PC. So right now I just literally have my phone like on a stand pointing at my computer streaming. Lame as shit.
I'm checking right now, Tom.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's working. It's working fine.
Does the sound work? Can you hear everything?
Yep, I can hear everything. There's only a lag, I think, of around 5 seconds.
Nice. All right. Hopefully it'll give me the stream key shit so I can just do it on my PC. But it hasn't done that yet because TikTok is lame. But so how are you guys doing? What's up?
Well, I found the concept you're introducing, like some higher morality, is a topic that I'm following for quite a long time. And if we're looking at the current state of discussions in the US around statues and destroying all stories we've ever created. My question is should we care about these stories we've created at some point?
Pointless garbage. No one should care. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. It's you know,
I'd say get rid of all statues, get rid of all artwork, get rid of all that garbage shit. It's just a waste of money.
Okay. Was that serious or?
Yes, I'm completely serious. I think the statues are stupid. It's like, why did we spend money on this garbage instead of like feeding the poor or something? Like, why is there all this gold lined shit in the Oval Office instead of like feeding the home or giving the homes to the homeless? Like, all of that is pointless government garbage, waste of money that we shouldn't have for any reason.
100. 100, yeah, and isn't, because this is quite controversial, and you'll get like a lot of people say, why are you saying this? And the whole point, I think, isn't society, let's say, our current way of thinking, are we ready? Are we like in this post-religious syndrome where we're still having the effects of the old thinking, and we're thinking God is dead, but we're still in that realm. We're still having the same thinking, the same habits, and we're not able to move past this let's say moral confusion.
Is a very broad term.
Well, I think that the religious thinking is actually evolutionary thinking. So the reason religion is so successful is because it accurately plays onto our evolutionary biases, and that's why we value statues and symbols and shit, even though they mean nothing. And so I think that, yes, in a sense, that's still the religious thinking, and we have to cater to our emotional needs in that way, because it does inspire people to do stuff. But I don't think it's religious thinking. I think it's more evolutionary, fallacious thinking.
Well, it seems. Well, I'm quite looking at concepts, at what could be the way forward, and it's a very complicated discussion where you have people that really care about these symbols, and you have people that just want to go forward. And one of the concepts I'm quite fond of is the concept of Nietzsche going beyond good and evil and having some form of perspectivism. So meaning that like people are caring a lot about what is good and what is evil and what is the truth. But what we're actually seeing is that truth is like more this moving target. So if you look at the founding fathers of the US in that time, slavery was something that could be very normal. But what we're seeing now is that people think differently about it. And this is exactly this moving target where I think we continuously need to adjust to what the current state of things is.
Adjust to the current state of things. I mean, I would say that as I think we should just ignore the statues thing. I don't care if people want statues. I think we should keep focusing on like scientific development, and as we continue to grow technologically, people will naturally begin to shy away from those things and care less about it. And so I think that we should pretty much just ignore it. And if people want statues or don't want statues, like that's up to you. Do whatever you want. But the goal for moving forward is more holistic, like ignore the little political things and focus on science, education, technological development. And as those things progress, that will cause the major shift in culture to benefit people to move away from the biases and fallacies associated with evolution. So I think it's more about, you just ignore the stupid shit and focus on the things that actually matter.
Yeah. But there are people that are holding you back, or should we not care about them, or just keep on pushing forward?
Yeah, they don't matter.
And they'll jump.
They don't matter. So as long as we keep progressing technologically, they won't be able to do anything. Like, it's impossible for them to stop the technological growth. So as long as we keep moving forward technologically, they're going to lose. Conservatives are going to lose that battle.
Yeah.
But with the technological progress, there might be a bump ahead of us, because we can't scale CPUs down infinitely. I don't know exactly when the bump will, but we have to switch from silicon to some other
carbon
material. Yeah, for example.
But that's not going to make a difference. Like, the problem isn't the size of our transistors. Like, obviously there's going to be a minimum size of transistors, which is going to be on the particle level of some kind. Well, I mean, I guess quantum, maybe even smaller, but it doesn't matter. The size of the transistors isn't important. Well, the size of the transistors doesn't matter. Like, our brains have a finite size, and they're bigger than the transistors. So once we get the correct programming to mimic human consciousness, we're not going to need smaller transistors. So the ability to create artificial intelligence, we already have the transistor programming capability to do that. We just don't have the right programs. So it's not really an issue.
No, that's wrong. We are right now, we are designing processors specifically for artificial intelligence, because our current CPUs aren't really designed for that. So they will produce an X amount of heat, even if you put like the smartest AI code on them. They have a limit, and the limit isn't as fast as our brain is. So
no, it's far. Wait, that doesn't make any sense.
It isn't possible.
That literally doesn't make any sense. So the heat processing capabilities of machines is better than the heat processing capabilities of our brains. The processing capabilities of machines is better than the processing capability of our brains. So they will be able to do both better than our brains. Like, nobody in computer science thinks that we're not going to be able to surpass human brains. They think it's a necessity. They think we're going to do that very soon.
That's actually not true. So the problem is
that's literally, the studies have talked about that multiple times, like where they're checking the path of computer progress and how it relates to human processing power. And right now we're at like apes or monkeys or something, or rats or something. And the processing power to do what human brains do isn't that much more. Like, that's not the problem. The problem is how do we mimic the things it does do? There's not like an energy problem where we're going to produce too much energy and overheat the computers. That's not really an issue we're worried about. What we're worried about is how do we mimic human processing capabilities of problem solving? We have no idea how to do critical thinking in a computer. It's not a hardware problem. It's a software problem.
I don't know what you read, but that's not true. The problem is we can't just layer the CPUs. We can't. The big problem we have right now is that we cannot get the heat away from the CPUs fast enough.
That's not a problem. That's how I don't know why you keep thinking that's a problem. Like, where is this a problem?
It is. The thing is
this is not a problem.
Basically, it is.
No.
I want you to understand, but I'm pretty sure of it.
Like, this is a software problem. The problem people are having with AIs is that we don't know how to program consciousness into a computer. That's literally the problem.
It isn't a software problem. I'm very sure of that.
I
really studied that shit. I'm an IT guy. I really studied that shit.
Yeah, I actually agree with it's a software problem, because currently there are just no models. So at the moment, AI, technically speaking, AI, the inventor of AI actually calls it more complex processing. It's not real AI yet. And what we're figuring out right now with AI is we're figuring out the models that allow us to make these AI algorithms smarter.
Yes. And what do we need for that? A specific hardware.
No, software. We need software.
Yes.
No,
yes,
for that hardware and software go hand in hand.
Talking about two separate subjects.
Well, no. Like, for example, we already have computers that are smarter than people. Like Watson,
no, that's not true.
the one who beat everybody at Jeopardy, beat the crap out of every human being, no problem. Did not have a heating problem.
That's a single task.
Yes, as a single task. And then we have one for Go that beat every human being. We have one for chess that beat every human being.
How big the one is with Go?
So none of these. Wait, stop. So none of these have a heating problem. All of these beat the crap out of humans at their one thing. None of them have a heating problem. Wait. Stop. So we can have one computer for each task and beat every single human being, and none of the computers will have a heating problem. And we put the computers together, then they can do all the tasks and still will not have a heating problem.
But yet now you're doing a dishonest comparison. Now you compare the complete brain against one task.
What? No. The heating problem. We're talking about the heating problem. So,
if I could, I think there's always a heat problem with quantum computing, which is why you have to cool them down so hard, right? I think what TJump is trying to say.
I'm not talking about quantum computing.
I think what TJump is trying to say is they solved that problem with what they're dealing with, and I think what you're trying to say is if you're going to increase computing power, going to increase in heat, which creates more errors when it comes to quantum computing because the qubits can't be accurately cooled down when all that heat is in the middle. And how do you do that while you're just consistently trying to cool it? And that's understandable, but it's already solved. So why don't you think we can solve it in the future if we're already this far is really, I think, the question here.
So wait, why are we talking about quantum CPUs at all?
Are you just using that as an example of one of the heating things? It's hard to cool a quantum CPU, but
is there any AI right now running on quantum computers?
You still gotta cool them down.
Is there any AI or software stack running right now on quantum computers? The answer is no.
So. I don't think so.
We don't have to talk about quantum computers right now.
But so all of these individual computers I mentioned, none of them have a heating problem. And if we put all those computers together, they're still not going to have a heating problem because none of them individually have a heating problem. So they have coolers
that's way more efficient.
What?
It's always going to be some next step.
The brain the brain is not more efficient. Biology is not efficient. It's wasted. A lot of the crap in our brain is wasted on fat and shit.
It's still more. It's not efficient.
It's not. Transistors are significantly more efficient. But the problem is we don't know how to program critical thinking.
Showing you the research, you would agree with me. I'm very sure of myself.
Well, you shouldn't be.
Are you talking about Moore's law and the stagnation of Moore's law?
Moore's law is just a generalized. Moore's law talks just about the transistor count. It doesn't talk about how small stuff gets. It doesn't talk about the heating problem. It just says every year, I think, the transistor count doubles. But AI CPUs specifically designed for that, they don't use the classical transistor because they are more designed to mimic the pathways of brain to fix them in the circuit. That's why like all the big players, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, all the big players, they're designing AI CPUs specifically because normal CPUs and GPUs they aren't fast enough.
Yeah, but there is progress in that field, right?
Yes.
No. Wait. So this not fast enough thing. This is the part I'm disagreeing with. Making computers faster isn't going to make us any closer to consciousness. It's not about the speed. The speed is not the issue here. No one thinks it's the speed. No one thinks that just making faster computers is going to do anything.
Yeah,
I agree. The problem is that a CPU is designed to be not random. There isn't. It is designed to it's designed like an algorithm. You put in the same things and you will always get out the same things. If you put A in, you will get always out B. If you put in B, you will always get out C. That's how a CPU is designed.
But none of that has to do with heating. So what?
There's a few flaws in that. Clearly, because your input is variant, right? So
yes.
If your input was something like
Random.
Like right now, the best thing I can let you know is that there's computers right now that work off sense input. So if you walk in the room, you change the input to the computer, and the computer is working with supercomputers or quantum computers right now via the internet. Okay, so there's like weird experiments that are happening and prizes being given out behind the scenes, all these little science fairs and all that. But it's about kind of mimicking this sense perception. So can a computer sense that you're there and then sense kind of your your demeanor and your attitude? So that's already happening.
But if you would record,
so that's number one. And number
one
two,
second. I have to make a clarification. If you record the video you just talked about, like it senses something in the room, if you record the video and put it through the same AI, the exact same result will come out. Every time you put the exact video into it, the exact same result will come out.
Same for a human. So you can affect a human, right? Like even psychologists can do this, or even magicians can do this. They can manipulate you too through sense data. It's not a problem. Okay, but the point is to mimic the input. And number two, the brain is more efficient using energy for processing. It's a different type of teraflopping. I think we're at teraflop levels, about what we can, I think, gauge, but it's a totally different process. It's a totally different system, and it works off a lot of different chemicals and like a lot of different senses that we're still trying to figure out. So I don't think we're any closer to AI in what people might think is a true autonomous thinking human being.
None of this is the bottleneck that's preventing society or anything on the planet from coming up to what our current technological capabilities are. Like what we can do with the technology that we have to save lives is not bottlenecked by the heat distribution capability AI at this.
I'm not talking about saving lives. Of course, we can do a lot more. That's not what I'm talking about. TJump is talking about how, like, if we increase the technological standpoint we have now, people on the left side basically will win and conservatives will lose, because if you're conservative and the technology moves too fast forward, you will lose. And what I said is there might be a bump there, because we might to switch to another technology, because the current technology we have isn't enough.
I would probably say if you understand quantum, like quantum physics, to some realm, and you understand kind of the computing power that kind of goes hand in hand with that, with what we call artificial intelligence, I would say that it's either going to be that the concept of conservatism, or maybe even politics in general, I have no idea, is going to go out the window. Like our society in general is going to change in some weird post-industrial concept, or we're going to go, as humans 100 times into it, and hard conservative technology and hard liberal technology. I don't know, but humans are so unpredictable in that emotional way. But I can tell you for sure that in the next 20 years, everything's going to change, and I think that's what's either scaring a lot of people and creating a lot of uncertainty, but we'll manage it, I think, and we'll figure out how to kind of pull this new science like we did last.
Right now we are happy if we can solve Tetris with a quantum computer. Quantum computers aren't there yet. They will be, but they aren't there yet, and we don't have any AI software or models for quantum computers right now. Quantum computers work differently than our normal computers. I don't know enough about it, but I know so much about it that, like, at least as much about it that I know that there is no AI with quantum right now.
The best way to put it is it creates, instead of a yes, no, it creates a third option, and then you can manipulate that option in order to actually create a yes or no. So that's why the computer can get to the answer relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, but supposing that we stopped advancing technology now, we just stopped making forward progress. How far forward could we bring the floor up, given what we already know? That should be so much more of a concern.
Yes, we are wasting a lot of CPU resources. I agree.
How fast has by the floor, do you mean the uneducated, poor, and impoverished?
Yeah, the global floor, not the
global, and how fast has that floor been increasing? Like something like poverty has just like, drastically decreased, but in this short amount of time. So, would that be one thing? Like, is poverty an indication that the floor is already coming, right? Like, should be concerned with the floor?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm saying that the trajectory of the conversation was the idea of using technology to alleviate suffering in the world for people rather than in the ceiling. The idea of bringing the floor up, I really is enough within reach that should be more of a concern raising this.
Yeah, that just sounds like progressivism versus socialism, and the answer is both.
No,
the answer is we always do both, right? We always
progressivism versus 10%, socialism,
30%, whatever you push off to the right to help out people kind of catch up with the times. Do this all every day. I think that percentage sometimes might increase and decrease depending on how well other people need this technology in order to save their lives. We donate, tons and tons of equipment, even if it's older equipment and not the new equipment. It's still having massive drastic effects on them. Like machines that
but a slight decrease in that amount of effect is deaths. That's people's lives over. It's not like somebody's comfort sacrificed or somebody, you know what I mean? Like, incentive there, I think is
I think you should create a way where you can try to give out as much as you can, but better yet, create an opportunity for people to achieve it and get this type of new technology. Like, if you're living in a poor hut village, like, you can come over here on a visa and get a cell phone and experience like modern technology, like probably within a good month, I'm sure, of like applying and getting some funds together, or however you do it. Or maybe you're just too poor to travel, but I'm sure you can go somewhere close. You can get a piece of like a cell phone technology upon which I don't think maybe like your grandparents or like your dad probably ever think ever existed, or might even look at it oddly.
Okay, but then we're talking about the awareness of the person in the hut to whatever causes.
I'm just talking about their mobility. Cell phone's probably one of the most powerful things to save lives probably in the world today.
Sure, absolutely. I think we should.
One example I just thought of. Sorry, I'm coming back to the topic, but my brain is just still there. Because TJump said like there's this game Go, and humans were beat with an AI. If you would take out a brain out of a human, put it into like a machine, and you change the brain, so the only thing it does is it solves Go as good as possible, it would be way faster than the current Go machine we have in with silicon. Because the brain does a lot more than just solve Go. But if you design a brain that only is there to solve Go, it would be faster than.
But we can look at this problem just as we just don't understand the models yet. And as long as we continue progressing in creating models, understanding the brain better, I think we're in good position in let's say coming to a point where we can progress.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying there might be a bump, like there might be a point in our technological progress with AI where it will slow down and then it will fasten up again. So, for example, if we need to switch from silicon to carbon or whatever else, or quantum computers, it might be that there is a time in which we don't grow as much. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I would go further as to say that even if we stopped right now, this is the point I was making earlier, that the technology that we have, we really got to a point where we actually mastered what we're capable of and brought the floor up to where we're really where is within reach of getting it now, we would not be seeing a world that's any we see. Things would just be so much drastically better in ways that are so much more important.
Yeah, I think some of the stuff that we just discovered is going to fundamentally change everything. And a lot of people I don't think understand quantum physics or understand the potential of like everything that we're using today, technological wise, is like built up on the physics of like the past like 40 to 50 years, and we've accelerated that process beyond belief to where we're now just already getting into the next realm is quantum physics, and now we're kind of playing with that concept and that idea. I mean, look at kind of what just happened with them kind of making these these tornadoes, with atoms. Do that and to manipulate that creates science, creates technology, and creates abilities upon which is almost godly. Teleportation, perpetual motion, in some sense, not true perpetual motion, but what we understand about energy. And I think if we can truly harness some of those patents that are on file today, actually turning them into profitable margins, like for equipment for everybody. Excuse me, I have an antsy puppy.
I think
very antsy puppy.
I think we're putting ourselves in a
we
position.
can talk about sickness as something in the past, something death probably, hopefully in the past as well.
Yep. I don't think it's going to be a cutting edge.
Well, don't you think that we're bringing ourselves right now in the position of becoming the gods ourselves, like with the understanding of biology and the understanding of our current understanding of how embryos work? Could we push ourselves into a position where we start producing biological beings ourselves?
Like home CRISPR?
We've been doing that for
maybe CRISPR, but it could be also beyond CRISPR. I don't know. I think there are a lot of limitations there at CRISPR, but what we can see, I think what we can see as a trend is we're progressing and we're have better understanding even of things like aging. If you look at the aging field right now, and like scientists they've reached quite some consensus around that we actually don't need to age. Actually, it was somehow old concept that we started somewhere, but there are quite a lot of signs that we don't need to age as we age right now, and that we slowly are having more and more control over the technological progress to let's say our fundamental biological technologies. We can have that under our control, and reaching a point which may be even a plausible, even a more plausible story than the story of God, is that we could send out people to, let's say, a different universe, maybe a close universe, and we would watch out to we're so much advanced technologically that we actually create a new society to save ourselves in a different universe, and we're able to terraform this planet. And we're just watching, because we're so technologically advanced, we're watching from outer space at our, let's say, our sibling, let's say, outer space society, and see how they progress. And and there's somehow so I'm seeing that we can put ourselves, if I look at the technological progress that we let's say what we understand right now, we can easily get ourselves into a position where we become the gods, and that we are actually a reproducible society. So we've reached a point where we have so much technological progress and so much knowledge that we could advance civilization. We actually want to start reproducing outside of the current realm and outside of our current form of space.
Okay, so if you had to put a time frame on that, how long would you say you think that? True?
Wow, really hard question. It's I would let's say rough estimate. I don't think we're close to that. I think we're we need some exponential breakthroughs. I think I would say another 2,000 years.
Okay.
Because if I was
in 2,000 years, in 10 years, we're going to have enough information to make better predictions.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this thought came because of I was looking actually because you have many religious people. They say, why does this all exist? What we have right now? Why do the planets? Why does this complex form of life exist at all? And I just want to look also at a more probable theory. But what if we were being reproduced by some other society, and which doesn't have any interest in us all in our current state of technology, and they're looking to us, and they're just looking at, hey, when are they going to reach technological maturity that they can start reproducing themselves also? And I find that story much more probable than the story of some God that cares about our problems.
See that? I mean, you could reach and tie panspermia to that or something like it. You could say, life is seeded by asteroids sent out into the vacuum by things that know what they put on those asteroids and the outcome of it. And yeah, you probably have a firmer footing in reality than ever farm into.
Yeah. I think scientists are putting at us like 100 years until we reach type 1. Oh, and that's solar system dominance, I believe.
In 100 years?
Yeah, our scale is rapid. Like the most technological and scientific and health advancements have happened in the past 100 years versus tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of years humans been on the planet. So it's a rapid increase. So as you go to type 1, right, your scale to type 2 is also rapidly increased.
And what do you define as, or what is defined as type 1?
I believe type 1 is solar system, type 2 is galaxy, and type 3 is intergalactic.
That's something to really look forward to. It gives somehow a liberating feeling that some or a generation will reach that point.
The Chinese just put in a patent because some of the quantum technology I'm talking about, they're trying to work on an engine that can reach the edge of the solar system in like 7 days.
China is full of shit.
Yay. I think we're racing toward type 1, type 2 diabetes faster than the combination.
Oh, we already hit that, baby. We're on type 3 already. Come on.
I don't think I've ever heard a more ironic statement than the Chinese put out a patent.
Listen, the Chinese are
money.
The Chinese are
well, they reverse engineer everything, right?
Chinese are living on borrowed time.
I don't know about that one. So I think Chinese are economically growing. Chinese are like economically growing faster than anybody else, and they're going to probably catch up with America pretty soon. But they're corrupt as shit and make shit up.
Yeah, but they have like a shit ton of debt and inflation, and that's not going to last long.
So do we. So like they're
with record lending.
Hold on, because the Chinese debt isn't much worse than like America has the most debt. So like the Chinese debt problem isn't different from the rest of the world.
Yeah, it is. It's very different.
It is.
System is rather new, and their bond system is rather broken as well. So when you have something like that,
also the same with the rest of the world.
Pulling out of it.
Well, that's the difference. That's true. Like other countries are pulling out of it. That's true.
Yeah, so that's the problem is that it's not wise to invest there anymore, and you can't back up their can't back up their system, which is why they're leaning back towards manufacturing and mining. So they're just going all in on that in order to kind of their system going. So they have plenty of outs, but it's just it's a volatile system.
Well, the same thing
They're going to
applies
be the first to rig their humans.
Well, the same thing applies to the American system, because people are moving out of the American system too, because it used to be like 80% of the World Bank's standard currency, and now it's only down to like 60%. So people are also pulling out of American currency as well.
Yeah, so are we actually.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think the Americans are living on borrowed time too.
Possibly.
No, we're converting over to a system called SBC, stable banking coins. It'll be a way to manage like incoming virtual money. And then there's going to be like accountability machines when it comes to the Fed on the back end. So those are being implemented, and we're going to start hearing about that in the next 5 years. We started hearing about last year on kind of their plan, but it's based off the dollar. It just goes digital and it gets managed to where it doesn't inflate anymore.
Wait, they're not going to get rid of inflation. That would be counterproductive. Inflation is good for the economy.
You got to
inflation is not good for the economy.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but you got to manage the
Absolutely is
inflation.
Like inflation destroys economies.
Like, it's been proven economically that I think like 2 to 2% inflation is good for the economy. Going above 3 is bad, but having 0 is also bad. Inflation is actually
it depends on certain fluctuations, but yeah, it's countries who manage the inflation, right, and do not have rapid inflation are the successful ones. You will always have inflation. Stagnation will kill your country.
Yeah, inflation causes more expenditure of money and less hoarding, which then boosts the economy and generates more value.
Doesn't inflation
money doesn't generate value. Production generates value.
Right. That's why inflation is good, because inflation causes people to spend their money and do stuff with it. That's the idea.
Right, but it's more important that people spend their money on things they actually need rather than just prioritizing spending in general.
No, not
Like,
quite.
I
wish that was the case, but mostly like wealthy can generate their own economy. Like there are economies of just pure wealth. Like that's what the art economy is. Art economy is worth billions of dollars, and 0 poor people can get into this market. So there are economies of scale and wealth that have nothing to do with poor people. It has nothing to do with need whatsoever. NFTs have nothing to do with need. And so like Rolls Royces have nothing to do with need.
Which is why they're bound to fail.
No, because I mean, art hasn't failed, and art's been around for...
No, NFTs are basically like the only way you can make money from NFTs.
But NFTs are only a tiny portion of the art market.
Well, no. So the point here is that when he said that money is based off of need, no, it's not. Most money is not spent based off of need. Most money has nothing to do with need. Most money in the economy is spent based off of want, essentially.
Right. And that's important that you... Right. Like NFTs, like that... NFTs are not actually like produce anything. Like NFTs, all NFTs are good for is to sell them again. And if something is only good for just selling them again, then it doesn't have any actual intrinsic value.
Yes, it does, because that's what laundering money is. That's literally so like all NFTs are good for is millions and millions of dollars of laundering money, like art. Like the reason the art market is so successful isn't because art is popular. It's because it's very, very good at laundering money and reserving your wealth in a way that doesn't inflate. So it converts wealth from an inflatable income to a non-inflatable income that actually grows in value for no reason other than rich people like it. So yes,
that's why inflation is bad, because it incentivizes people to invest in stuff that actually isn't actually going to produce them anything, but just for the fact that at least it's not inflating.
Well, no. That's a good thing. So when people invest in like artwork and artwork's value goes up, it generates wealth. Like that's the point. Is that when you invest in those kinds of things,
wealth if you sell it.
Well, I mean, like for the entire economy, for the entire government, these transactions generate wealth and value and GDP because there's objects that are being sold and made that have this monetary value in them, and that's a good thing. The government likes this rather than you having it in the bank. This is a good thing. We want money to keep changing hands as much as possible, because the changing hands of the money is what's important, not what they're buying. Like, they don't care what they buy.
You would get rid of the demand, and then there would be a need for nothing, and nobody would be able to get anything for saving their lives, because the demand input would be non-existent in a stagnant zero inflation economy. That's macroeconomics or 101.
Changing of money from hands is not what creates wealth. What creates wealth is producing things that provide value.
No, wealth.
That's what creates wealth.
Well, what creates GDP is the transitioning of money. Like taxes, they get taxes by people spending their money.
Right, but GDP isn't like the only important thing in a healthy economy.
It's probably what the government cares about more than anything else.
Right, but it might be good for the government, but it might not be good for the economy.
What generates wealth, not creating things that are needed. You can have fields and fields and fields of apples growing, and if nobody wants them, then
but
they
I'm not talking about what's needed. I'm talking about what's wanted. And if you're not actually generating something that the economy wants, or something that can produce value that can be exchanged for things that people want, then
but how does that not apply to
business that fails overnight? You have a
because the only reason NFTs have value is to be sold.
Yes, which is the same thing wait, that's the same thing of most of the crap in the economy. Most designer clothes only have value because they want to be sold. They're absolute garbage and useless, but they look nice. Most artwork, exact same thing. Most of the things rich people buy has nothing to do with actual value.
But with NFTs, you don't even have anything at hand. That's the point. Right. There is an awesome video about NFTs that Josh Drive Hayes made. He explained how NFT works. If you want, I can summarize.
I mean, I know how they work, but I don't know what your argument here is. Like, what is...
I'm not sure, because most people don't know how NFT works.
Non-fungible tokens.
How they work, but
it's just a representation of an object, and the representation can be sold and traded. It's just like digital Pokemon cards, more or less.
It isn't even the representation is just attached to a number. That's all.
Yes, it doesn't actually represent anything. The Bored Ape NFTs doesn't actually even represent the image that it's attached to. Like that. It's just something that's attached to. All an NFT is just a cryptocurrency with a market cap of 1, and then an image or something or other is attached to it to give it more value.
Yes,
that's how representation works. Digital real estate is a better way about looking at it, and the fact that you can create digital real estate with an NFT means that you can change the concept of how money is used on the internet altogether. You can change how certain licensing and designer things are used. So in the same way that you're going to buy designer shoes, you could buy designer shoes for your character, and guess what? People buy weird shit all the fucking time.
Yes,
like
they
don't understand how NFT works.
Digital real estate is huge. It's massive. So, and NFTs are the beginning of that landscape. So I would say it's not something that is anything to be looked at as something small. It's a way to actually imprint physical accountability. Like you can hold in your hand, I have this ticket or whatever, or on your computer to say I have a digital real estate. Either
that's a process that
I own forever.
Before the NFTs.
In lieu, you can stash money through it and actually have it, gain value.
Well, no, that's the point. Is because it's a digital currency. There's a very small percentage of it will actually gain value. Much less of it than anything else. It isn't a currency. Well, it is.
NFTs aren't a currency. No,
I agree. Amongst all the shit, small percentage will gain value. I agree because it's going to be.
But that's the difference between that and other digital assets, like digital assets on Eve online, or like buying things that are on those kinds of games.
Have different amount of value.
Stop. So the digital assets that are like used in video games are going to have more value residually than NFTs. NFTs will have small things, but it's going to just be like artwork. This is liked by people, and so they invest in it, and that's the only reason it has value. And so it's a scam for rich people. NFTs are a scam for rich people, just like art is, in order to launder money, essentially.
So NFTs can be facilitated to do something productive, but most times how they are used now in the game industry and in the art industry, it is just a destructive usage of NFTs. And NFTs aren't money. They represent an interest in money, but like NFTs can have different amounts of value. Each, like in the same NFT chain, you can have one NFT, like the NFT 111, because it has 111 in it. It has a lot of amount of value, but the next one, 112, is like just $1 or something.
Right. But you can do something
that's why
like
it's a cryptocurrency with a market cap of 1, because each one is unique to each other.
Yes, so it is exactly like a currency, because currency, like money, is made up. It's a fake thing that people make up and artificially give value to.
But $1 it's more like it's a sector. Okay, so you could do something like every time you buy a ticket to your favorite sports team, it's an NFT. Okay, it's an NFT ticket. It's specifically designed as a piece of digital real estate that says this is a ticket. So it's about more like think of NFTs as just more of, it's used for everything. So money is just like one portion you use for NFTs, right? The other portions are tons and tons of other things you could use, whether they have value or no value, or the value personally, or value in 100 years because they become popular in some direction. Who gives you?
$1 equals $1. One NFT does not equal another NFT.
Right. So
that doesn't matter. That doesn't make a difference to the money argument. $1 of American dollar does not equal 1 peso. Different currencies have different values too. It doesn't. The fact that there's only one thing doesn't matter.
Within an NFT, within the same amount.
That doesn't matter. That literally what you're saying is dumb as shit, and it literally doesn't matter that different kinds of baby ghosts have different values. They're still just an artificial currency. That's all it is.
I implore you to watch the video of stuff.
I literally know this. Like, this is what you're saying are things I know, and I know why you're wrong because it's dumb. Like if I make up a currency, like the TJump currency, and the currency has one thing, there's one object to this currency, and it has value and people accept it. It's still a currency even if there's only one.
NFTs and blockchains are two different things, and you mix them up.
I didn't say blockchain. I wasn't talking about blockchains. What?
Yes.
No, but still, an NFT still runs on a blockchain. So on a block, an NFT mints a token on a blockchain in a specific network.
Yes.
And so the underlying technology is still that. The only difference between a block, let's say a currency, you can say like there's a million. Let's say there are a million $1, let's say like that, and in an NFT form, you just have a representation of something, and it also is minted inside a blockchain, and you can make that transferable. That's it.
I posted the video in the general text chat.
But I think the whole point of NFTs is that I think it's an interesting point where we're saying like the rich people are creating another system, but I wouldn't completely go for that because I find it also an interesting new model for example, artists and people that create. That could, for example, let's say a musician, he could make a song and he could make an NFT out of it, and instead of sharing it in a, let's say, through big music labels, you could share your object and you can license that to a lot of people, and you could stream the money directly to the musician. So this is all. It's not possible yet, but this is the things that you could do with an NFT. That would create
doesn't matter. That's still the same thing. So like you can do the same thing with artwork. I can literally make my own artwork. But what gives value to the artwork is, do rich people want it? Like that's how artwork gains like significant value, is if rich people want it. The same thing applies to NFT. The value isn't given by anything other than rich people want it.
Okay, and the song itself, when millions of people want that song.
The song itself, like what does that have to do with the topic?
No, well, you could create, if you create a song, you can also create a representation on it on an NFT, and you could license that song. When a lot of people are listening to that song, an artist receives value out of that. So I'm just arguing that it's only a thing that could. Well, I completely agree with you on that rich people are now creating that currency and that they are creating this new model. But I see also in the future an application for, let's say, empowering creators to create all kinds of objects that could benefit them directly.
Well, yeah, but the only reason it has value that benefits them is because rich people want to buy it. So I mean, like, yeah, if they create an NFT to represent something that's popular in social media or whatever, then yes, the rich people are going to usually want to buy that because it's an easy thing to make it explode in value. But again, that's still just the rich people using it to launder money.
Yep. No, I agree on that.
Yeah, I had a real quick question for you, TJump.
Yeah.
Would you say that that religion can be considered a mental illness at times?
Depends how you define mental illness.
Just anything that affects your mental personality in some negative way. I mean, just the general.
Well, I mean, then
Definite.
everything is a mental illness. But I'd say that the typical definition of mental illness is usually some brain acting in a non-standard way. And religion isn't the brain acting in a non-standard way. So it's more like a hallucination than a delusion.
So, and that makes sense. I see where you're coming from. I just wonder, like along lines, because I asked this question on that Matt Dillahunty's The Line or whatever.
Yep.
And they said they disagreed. They said that it can't be a mental illness, period. And I asked him about the concept of, well, if you talk to people, you know, and they talk back to you and it's an invisible friend, that type of thing, that's schizophrenia. So is that not a mental illness, schizophrenia?
Because schizophrenia definitely is, but like religion itself isn't. So because the problem with a mental illness is the brain not functioning correctly. A hallucination, like seeing a mirage or something, isn't a mental illness. It's not a hallucination, or it's not a delusion. It's not a schizophrenia. If you see an optical illusion, that's just normal. So religion is kind of like that. It's just a collection of all of the silly fallacies, biases, and illusions that the brain does naturally without any deficiency in the brain. So because it's just a collection that plays on the naturally innate misfirings in the brain, it isn't a delusion. It would only be a delusion if it was like a misfiring of the brain.
Okay, I think I see what you're saying. Okay, if you're describing it that way, that makes sense, I guess.
But cannot everybody come? Well, if you're making it a mental illness, couldn't then, because everybody could fall in the trap of religion, right? And the fallacy that religion brings.
What?
Even the most, I think even the most, let's say that have that grown up in a very progressive society. Even I've just seen so many people that are let's say living in quite liberal societies, but they're still able to become extremely religious because their parents. I think you should sue the parents that taught them to be that way, because they have the biggest influence, and that's the power. It starts with the parents.
So one question along those lines, I think this will probably be my last question, is that if, let's say, there's a religion that teaches that you should drink wine and that it's actual blood and you should believe it's blood, and that you should eat, you know, the body and it's an actual body, and then you talk to people that aren't there and stuff like that, you would say that's not the brain, you know, not working correctly. You'd say that's the brain working perfectly fine.
Wait, say that again?
So it's not a mental illness.
Say that again?
I'm saying like you know how Catholics believe that you're actually eating an actual body and you're drinking actual blood.
Yeah.
You would say that's the brain working perfectly fine, right?
That is a result of a perfectly natural functioning part of the brain. So if it was a result of a tumor, then obviously it's a tumor. And so the action itself isn't what determines whether or not it's a delusion. It's the cause of the action.
I think it's human creativity to find at that moment an answer. It wants an answer for something, and it created someone a soothing answer.
Well, again, so what makes it a delusion or not is the cause of the belief, not necessarily the belief itself. What the belief is doesn't matter. You can have any kind of delusion. I believe I'm the tallest person in the world or whatever. Or I believe that, let's say I believe that the world is round. That could be a delusion if it's caused by like a tumor or something.
So what was your definition one last time about what an actual mental illness is?
A mental illness, I don't have like the formal definition, but the formal definition is something like it's caused by some kind of misfiring of the brain, where it's not like a natural process of evolution. It's just a way that is deviated from the way that most brains typically operate.
Okay, so anything
what about
from the way? Okay.
What about the idea though that certain environmental stressors can have extreme?
You're cutting out
the onset. Sorry.
What was the question?
You hear me? Can people hear me?
I can hear you. Whoever's saying that.
Oh, okay. Right. I was saying, I think that it's relevant that there are certain environmental stressors that can influence the state of a mental illness. Like you can undergo extreme stress, which can be the onset of, for example, some kind of other episodes. That where religion itself may not necessarily be mental illness. It's just a
You cut out again. You said not a mental illness, then cut out, and then I heard two.
It might fall that religion might be able to classify it as an environmental stressor that could influence the state of mental health, where it may not itself be a mental illness. Might be worth considering the idea that it could be influencer on brain's actual physical ideas.
Well, sure, but so would like anything. Like that would also apply to political ideologies, to Harry Potter, to just anything.
Right,
sure,
right.
But and the differentiating line would be ones that are grounded in reality and ones that aren't. Like if you're, for example, if you're being gaslit, that's going to have a drastically different impact on your mental health than being told things that are not necessarily true, but realistic and could be. So that, yeah, the broader category may be dismissible, but I think when you introduce the specifics of actual beliefs and on there, then you're.
I don't think so. Like, gaslighting is deliberately trying to make someone think that they're crazy. So obviously that's going to have a different effect. But I don't think religion or the truthiness of the belief would be relevant to that position. Because you could think the best scientists at the time thought the world was flat or whatever. So that it was a false belief they were giving. But that doesn't affect how the belief affects the brain state.
Also, our value judgments, like intuition, or just value judgments about the external world or what's occurring, like that wasn't very nice, or like a lot of different things that come to our brain under that standard could be considered could be considered like insanity. Because they're not actually based in reality. They're actually like this intuitive notion of how to categorize what just happened, for instance, like between your brother and sister. It's like,
well, there's two things. There's two things I wanted to bring up there. One is that the truth or falsity of a belief doesn't have any difference on your psychological state. So people who believe things that are true and people who believe things are false have exactly the same mental state, because the falseness doesn't actually affect your brain. Unfortunately, that would be really cool if it did. So whether or not something's true wouldn't have an impact on its delusion status.
Okay, well, but consider the nature of gaslighting, right? Like you're deliberately trying to make somebody think they're correct or to question their own mental stability, right?
Sure.
Now, it may be false. Their mental stability is questionable, but once they take that belief on board and they start to question their mental stability, it can lead to a downward spiral where then the way they see things gets effed up by the falsiness of the belief itself. So
that can also happen to true things too. So like there's the belief that there is no free will. Like the belief that there's no free will can cause people to be more likely to cheat on tests or whatever. So it can have a negative consequence. So even if it's true, it can still have that same effect.
Sure. And that all leads to prove the point that I think at least that the way that the thing that's being taken or whatever taken out mentally, the way that actually interfaces with the reality that's around you does or can have an effect on the actual physical or the actual mental health of the person. Whether it starts off as like a physically recognizable part of the brain that is identifiably distinct and not working right. I don't think that's necessarily point that it would start there, but that it could get there by the wrongness of the things that you're taking on board. Like, for example, if I just shovel everything out of my head and replace it with absolute bullshit that's completely incoherent, and I go staggering out into the world and interact with people for a life, it's very possible that I can just downward spiral based on how wrong the way that I see.
Well, the spiraling part again doesn't matter to a delusion. Whether or not you spiral, whether or not you don't spiral, it's irrelevant to the delusion. So the consequences of it don't affect whether it's delusion status. In that way.
Not immediately, but over time, I think.
Well, it doesn't matter. Like whether or not there's consequences, whether or not there's not consequences, doesn't change the fact of it being a delusion.
Like you can have benign delusions, right? Like people who engage in weird superstitious behavior, like, oh, I stepped on the yellow bricks.
The fact that it's a delusion is the consequence.
Well, we're asking, is it a delusion, right?
Yes. Can it actually become a delusion and not?
Can it become a delusion?
For example, like, if you just take the idea that that reality is made out of a cosmic imagination, there's no real reality, that it's just some god making. You know what I mean? Like, then all of your reasoning is just going to trace back to that. You go to try to make sense of the world outside of you. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? You're going to resolve on, well, that's just what the fucking cosmic imagination wanted, and that's it. You know what I mean? And that can, I think, I don't know, I suspect that it could unravel a person psychologically to a degree where it could cause the onset of an actual delusional state.
No. So again, a delusion is a weird belief that is firmly maintained despite being like contradicted by what's generally accepted as reality. So it's typically a result of a mental disorder. So it's a result of a brain destruction usually, and it's a difference from what's typically believed. So if it's typically believed, it's not going to be a delusion, because human brains are innately wired to accept what society says. So it wouldn't be a delusion. The consequence is irrelevant. Whether or not it has a consequence doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
But the delusion is springing from a mental, physical level, onset of which can be triggered by environmental,
If it's caused by a mental disorder, yes. If it's a common belief in society, no.
And there we have it, right? So we have the idea that an environmental stressor can trigger a mental disorder.
No, if a mental disorder, so if literally something in your brain is incorrectly wired,
can be triggered by the onset of.
So again, the difference here is it a common thing in society which the brain would naturally accept, not delusion. So religion, not delusion, because it's a common thing in society that people commonly accept, and so it makes sense that people would believe it.
Say that again? Religion is what?
A common thing in society. So if there is a common belief in society, which is treated as normal in that society, it is not a delusion for people in that society to accept it. Ever.
That's not at all what I'm saying. I think you're right. Not a delusion for people to accept it. But I think there's a state of being delusional, the state of being prone to delusion, whatever particular mental illness, brain state is associated with increase in delusional ideas. There may actually be like a hardware issue, the brain itself, that can be triggered by the constant presentation and reinforcement of unreliable.
What? I have no idea what you're saying right now. So you're saying that someone being taught religious facts causes a
mental break. Could lead to a schizophrenic break. That's a good example.
Sure. Yeah. Like anything could lead to that. Different brains can cause that from different reasons.
Right. So it can,
Not,
in
Well,
fact, actually.
you can be caused to have schizophrenia just by watching Teletubbies. It doesn't mean Teletubbies
Right.
is a mental delusion.
There are very
Right.
specific things that are known to cause the on.
What?
There are very specific things that are known to cause the on. Not just like any. I mean, yes, anything can trigger it, but I mean, 0.5% of the 0.2% of the time is Teletubbies, and maybe 60% of extreme environment, and maybe I don't know, 15-something percent
Religion
of the
does
time it
not
might
cause schizophrenia any more than Teletubbies, as far as we can tell.
Conversation. I mean,
Right, Tom.
I don't know. I'm not convinced. Not
Tom,
convinced that it doesn't do or that it can't do.
Also, from that perspective, you know, if we're trying to equate religion with some sort of mental disorder, then the people who were religious and had an actual brain issue came to atheism or rejection of religion and God in general. It would invalidate coming to that conclusion based on some sort of reasoning or philosophical discussion or just kind of like rational thinking, because all it would entail is that suddenly your disorder physically in your brain was fixed, and it didn't actually it wasn't that you came. I'm saying if we start from the assumption that religion was a mental disorder, then if someone was that way, right, and we assume that, then if they came to the realization of atheism or secularism, then we would have to assume suddenly they didn't have a mental disorder. We wouldn't know whether it was just the disappearance of the disorder, or did they actually come to the new worldview with reason.
Right, but I don't see a problem there.
Right. The problem is we couldn't know. We just, so like the starting assumption that, you know, to categorize religion itself as a mental disorder, but you'd have to look at to invalidate that, which you already did in your own way. But a further way to invalidate it is look at all the people who were religious and then were not.
Wait, I don't see this as a problem. So someone could have a disorder caused by a mental disorder, and they could be changed by some kind of presentation of facts or whatever, or they could be cured, and that would apply to literally every mental disorder. So I don't see why this would be relevant to the conversation.
Okay.
Hey, TJump.
Hey, how's it going?
Biblically. Hey, I just want to let you know I boosted your server up to level 3. By the way, I'm the Cthulhu presuppositionalist. I just changed my name.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Biblically, TJump can't destroy our biblical Christological God.
Is that Mango?
Oh no.
Did Mango get back in the server?
It's Philip Cornelius Amon. He's a.
Wait, those aren't the same guy? I thought Philip was Mango.
Is that the same guy? Okay, then yeah, same guy, whatever.
Allow TJump to respond, thanks.
Biblically, that makes no sense.
Yes.
Biblically, TJump can't destroy our biblical Christological God. Respond.
So.
Okay. Speaking of mental disorders.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Biblically, now can respond. TJump.
Biblically, can I respond? Biblically, I would say 2 Kings 2:24. That is my biblical response.
Biblically, you have presupposed Genesis 1:1 amidst thy premise contra me. Respond.
2 Kings 2:24.
Biblically, thou art presupposing the canonicity of our biblical Christological worldview.
Yes.
Thy starting premise contra me.
Yes, and 2 Kings 24. So,
Yeah,
Mango's in the chat. Mango's like, that's not me. Like, Mango's like, no, this guy's way too crazy. That is definitely not me. Do not destroy my good Mango name.
Biblically, thou art presupposing the meta-onto theology of our biblical Christological God. Amidst thy
I said yes. I agreed to that, and then I said 2 Kings 2:24. So please respond.
Biblically, so for clarification, in order for this discourse to move forward, you have conceded to our biblical Christological God.
Yes, and then I said 2 Kings 2:24, and I said, please respond.
So, biblically, for clarification, just repeat after me. Our God of the Bible is awesome.
I'm sorry. I need you to respond to 2 Kings 2:24.
Biblically, for clarification,
I need. You're not responding. I need you to respond. Please respond. Please respond to 2 Kings 2:20. Respond for.
Biblically, I will respond, and that's seeing thy request contra me, but for clarification.
Well, I need you to respond to 2 Kings 2:24 before I can answer your question, because I asked you a question first.
Biblically, I'm not asking thou a question.
Well, I am.
I am giving you a request for clarification because thou has presupposed the meta-onto-theology of our biblical Christological God.
So I agreed. Remember, I said I agree with the Christian worldview, and then I presupposed Genesis 1:1, so it responds to 2 Kings 2:24.
Biblically, just
that out loud.
No, you have to repeat after me.
No. You have to answer my question. I answered your question. I said I agree to presuppose Genesis 1:1. I agree to presuppose Genesis 1:1. Now answer 2 Kings 2:24.
Turned around, looked at them, and called down a curse on them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the boys.
You forgot the part where they made fun of the bald guys.
Oh shit! Yep.
Biblically, for clarification.
There's no clarification until you respond.
After me, I'll respond to. I'll answer your question.
You have to respond first. I asked the first question. You have to respond first.
Biblically, I'm not asking thou a question. I'm merely giving you a request for clarification amidst this discourse. So repeat after me. Our God of the Bible is awesome.
No. God drowned babies.
Biblically,
God drowned babies. Biblically, God drowned babies. Please respond. Biblically, God drowned babies. Please respond.
Euro or not, all of them.
Because our biblical Christological God can see into the future, Z hasn't murdered anyone. So you can address my request by repeating after me. Our God of the Bible is awesome.
Our God of the Bible drowned babies.
Didn't biblically then Jesus didn't get sacrificed to anybody if nobody actually died? Big deal.
Biblically, as I said, unsure thou, is that even if you have disagreements and netting the choices of our biblical Christological God, Z hasn't murdered anyone.
Z?
Z is...
Who is Z? Is Z like Zed? Like the guy from MIB? Men in Black?
Are you giving God genderless pronouns?
Biblically, because our biblical Christological God is omniscient and eternal, Z hasn't murdered anyone.
So he didn't murder anyone because he's eternal. So if anyone who's eternal can't murder. Is like when you become eternal, you can do the Hitler and this doesn't count as murder anymore. So if Hitler was eternal, would that make him not a murderer?
There is a difference between murder and killing. So killing.
I didn't say murder. I said Jesus drowned babies. I didn't say murder. I said Jesus drowned babies. God drowned babies. I didn't say murder or killing. I said drowned babies.
Biblically, my premise and conclusion is too vague.
What?
So
how is God drowned babies too vague? That's not a vague statement.
Biblically, it's either murder or killing as your starting premise.
No, I said drowned. I didn't say murder. I didn't say kill. I said drowned, as in fill lungs with water until they cease breathing. Drowned.
Biblically, this isn't an issue. Our biblical Christological God is eternal, so Z hasn't murdered anyone.
Okay, but I didn't say murder. I said drowned babies. So you're saying God drowned babies? You agree? So say it. Repeat after me. Our God of the Bible drowned babies.
He talks about the part that comes before the murder, before the baby dies. That's what he's talking about.
Biblically, so does your request presuppose killing? Our biblical Christological God kills people. What's the issue with that?
That he drowned. What is the issue with the fact that he drowned babies? Well, I'm not saying, maybe there's not, but so you would have to say, repeat after me, our God of the Bible drowned babies. Please respond.
Biblically, yes, our God of the Bible has killed people.
No. Repeat. You gotta say what I say. So our God of the Bible drowned babies. Period.
Biblically, our God of the Bible is eternal, ergo.
And drowned babies. So you gotta get the drowned babies part into that sentence. Our God of the Bible drowned babies. That is the sentence I am looking for.
Biblically, our God of the Bible has drowned sinful babies.
Close enough. I'll take it.
Close enough.
Drown those sinful babies. They've done so much sinful sin babies.
Biblically, so for clarification, you need to repeat after me is by saying our God of the Bible is awesome.
At drowning
awful,
babies.
yes.
Our God of the Bible is awesome at drowning babies.
Biblically, my task is done.
That was great. Wow.
I think at one time I heard like a little smile. I'm not sure, but I think I heard a little smile.
I have noticed that like a few times where I talked to him, he laughed just a little bit, a couple times in our conversations with about the lights and colors thing. He could be a Poe, but I don't know. It's hard.
Oh, thank you. I was wondering if that's the colors and shapes guy. Jesus Christ.
Yes, yes, it is. It is Philip, the colors and shapes guy.
The Christian God exists.
Please respond.
It's like he talks to a walkie-talkie. Please respond.
The God of the Bible exists. Over. Yes. You're a niner in there. We need to get a MangoT versus Philip. That would be hilarious.
I'm curious. Is he a flat earther? Like
I think so. Probably. I think so.
He has to be.
Are there any hey, Eddie's here. Are there any of the mods who are listening? Could you like get MangoT and set up an event where it's MangoT versus Philip? Get them to like set up a time where they could converse and upload it.
I'm not familiar with those users. I'll look them up.
The guy who was just talking, biblical.
Yeah, no, I got you. I don't know Mango.
And Mango was banned, so he's banned somewhere. You have to find that.
Okay.
MangoT and who else?
The guy who I was just talking to, biblical account for the win something.
All right. I'll see what I can find.
I highlighted him in general text chat.
All right, and I don't know where Mango is. I don't know what Mango's name is on Discord. It's probably MangoT, but he says he's banned, so someone's got to find his name in the banned list and unban him to get it to set it up or to message him. From all Australians, I apologize for that interaction. From Jonty001. Yes, I see Mango in the YouTube chat, but I don't know his name in the Discord chat.
Discord channel.
Eyebrow Mango. Chat. It's Eyebrow Mango. It's his Discord name. Eyebrow Mango. Testing. That should work fine. Hopefully that's fine.
Curious, he isn't on PNR.
All right, guys. It's been about 3 hours. I've been streaming, so I'm gonna get some food. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.
Good one.